The opinions and views expressed in the following program are those of the speakers and the host, and do not necessarily reflect those of Yoakley Scott Corporation and your sports network.
Yeah, I've been closer to Jesus before, so can you help me out? Oh, can you help me out? Am I on my own? Am I on my own? Or can you help me out? Am I on my own? Am I on my own? Or can you help me out? Can you help me out? I've been scared to look in my soul. I've been afraid I would follow alone. Yeah, afraid of the things I've been told.
Welcome into a Monday edition of Running Points on ysnlive.com. Okay, where the hell is what the heck just happened here? Did we hit this the wrong way?
Oh, that's facing.
Where's that facing?
Someone bumped it.
All right, let me.
For people wondering, we had some issues to start the show with the internet, so we've been running around drastically trying to get that fixed. So bear with us. It's live streaming.
There we go.
Welcome to the world of live streaming.
Thank God we have some people that know how to deal with computers.
Pretty much Brian.
Yeah, Brian's an ace when it comes to the computers. Thank God we have him. That was crazy.
We often refer to him as the wizard behind the curtain of YSN. That no one really pays attention to, but if he's not there, nothing runs at all. So,
Yeah, exactly.
So, valid proof here today.
Boy, no kidding. And here I thought we were not going to be able to talk about the craziness that went on this weekend with basketball, but thank God, knock on wood, we got ourselves on the air, and that's all that matters. Okay, coming up on the show in about 7 minutes, and at 2 o'clock we'll hear from Bob Hannon, the voice of the YSU football program. This weekend, nothing but craziness in high school basketball, and the craziness, I guess you could say the craziness started on Saturday night with what I would consider to be the craziest, most electrifying game that anyone has probably ever seen scoring-wise.
I think it started on Friday because that's when Mooney and Michael Pelini said, "Hey, I'm going to hit a step-back three in overtime to."
Well, that's true.
That started us off. We're sitting here like, well, it can't get much crazier than this. And then Saturday said, "Hold my drink."
Yeah, Struthers and Chardon said, "Hold my beer. We're going to have a little bit of fun here." And let's just say defense was optional at the field house on Saturday, but my God, what a great game.
I think instead of defense being optional, it was offense being
sensational.
Because, in basketball, no matter how good of a defense you have, if offense is just making good plays and making shots, there's really not much you can do.
Yeah, they were tied at 92 at the end of regulation, tied at 105 at the end of one quarter or one overtime. Just an outrageously crazy game.
Chardon hit a three at the buzzer at the first overtime to send it into the second overtime.
Yeah, where Struthers ultimately won the game in double overtime, 118 to 108, and wow. Absolutely amazing. How would you like to be the team that scored 108 points in a high school basketball game and you're sent home? Yeah, crazy.
Can we just say, props to Chardon real quick? I mean, 14 seed coming into the tournament. I know seeding was crazy, but that means your road to the district championship is really hard because you're going to play a lot of good teams to get there with that low seed. And they put the Cinderella slippers on and pushed the one seed. Well, I think they were the one. Struthers was the one seed, right?
Yeah.
They pushed the one seed to the very brink and fell a little bit short. But That's some daring effort from the Hilltoppers.
Yeah, Nathaniel Soka, 42 points, a game-high 42
They had
points.
another player with 30 or more too, right? They
Yeah,
had
I
two
believe
players
they
with,
did.
with 30 or more. So
Yeah, the Hilltoppers, 16 of 32 in the first half. They had a 14-point lead in the first half at one point,
That's
47-33.
that's what probably makes them scratch their head. Like, oh man, we had this game won, but Struthers did what Struthers did, and they've been doing that all season. We've talked about it. They have documented history this season of getting off to a little bit of a sluggish start and then it not bothering them and them coming back and winning after that sluggish start. And that was kind of the microcosm of their season, to get off to a little slow start, get behind a little bit, and then just work their butt off to get back in the game, tie the game, and then win the game.
Well, here's the back end of that. Come Thursday night, you cannot get off to a slow start against the team they're going to be playing, because if you do, you're not going to be able to come back, because this team is just way too good to allow that to happen. And this team is, unfortunately, Akron, St. Vincent, St. Mary. For Struthers to win this game, they will have to get off to a good start, and they're going to have to play 32 minutes of really, really solid basketball.
And despite everything you just said, Struthers just has to go and play Struthers basketball, whatever
That's
that
it.
is. I mean, whatever the mentality for Struthers is, whatever the battle cry for them has been all season, keep it exactly the same. A lot of teams in this kind of situation, when they're playing a team that's established or a solid program, they can fall into the trap of trying to change things a little bit too much, trying to make the game bigger than it has to be, and then all of a sudden they get real tight when it starts, and then they get off to that slow start. So don't make the game bigger than it has to be. We know it's Akron, St. Vincent, St. Mary, and we know all about that program and the history that program has. But you got to just make it business as usual. If you make it too big, all of a sudden, because things are going to go a little bit wrong in that game. Akron, St. Vincent, St. Mary, too good to not go on a run or have a stretch in that game where they hold Struthers down or whatever it may be. If you hype it up too much or change your approach, then you're going to find yourself tight in those situations, and it's going to get a lot worse a lot quicker.
No, I agree with that, but you can't get off to a slow start. I mean, you just have to play 32 minutes of solid basketball in order to beat Akron St. V's. And knowing that St. V's, if you have them down, they'll go on a run. That's what they do. But you just continue playing your game, dictate the tempo, and Struthers has a shot. The other half of it, Cheney routed Poland to win their second consecutive district championship.
And this one was a statement because Cheney has looked different ever since 2 seasons ago. Poland beat them in overtime in the tournament, knocked them out of the tournament. Last season it was all about unfinished business, get to where we need to get to, and then they got shut down because of COVID before they could finish that tournament. And so this season has kind of been like unfinished business part 2 for Cheney, because they didn't get to finish the business last year, but it wasn't because they lost. So to get to do it on Poland's floor, who knocked them out of the tournament the last time they got to play a complete tournament, that had to be icing on the cake for Cheney, and to get to cut Poland's nets down probably felt pretty good.
Yeah, oh yeah, no question about that. And they get a Cinderella story in their own rights in the regional semifinals in Gilmore Academy, who knocked off Parma Padua in the district championship game. Cheney's got a very good chance at beating Gilmore Academy. We'll see what happens. I mean, when a team is on a run like Gilmore, forget about the records. I think everyone should forget about the records when you get to this point, because the records are irrelevant.
Look what Chardon did. They didn't have a great record, but they have winning mentality. They play a tough schedule. I know Gilmore Academy, I think, is independent, so they play whoever they want. So they'll come in battle tested, and you can't sleep on a Cinderella. You just can't do it.
No, definitely not.
And,
Bristol knocked off Matthews in Division 4, which
another Cinderella that finally came to an end a little bit.
Well, they didn't play in Columbiana County. I think that's probably the reason why that Matthews was out of their element, because they were 3-0 in Columbiana County. They probably needed that fourth game in our fair county to get to the regionals. But congratulations to Bristol. And you and I sat back when this tournament drawing started, and we were wondering aloud, why would JFK jump into McDonald's district instead of owning their own district? The answer became abundantly apparent on Friday nights.
We said, well, they must know something we don't. They must see something on film that makes them super confident that they can beat McDonald in the district tournament. And boy, did they ever.
Now, let's preface all of this by saying McDonald was without one of their better starters. Okay, get that, understand that. I don't even know if McDonald wins that game with a healthy team because JFK was that good on Friday night. That was crazy.
Yeah, I mean, McDonald was down early. They came back. They tied the game at 31. Turning point of the game was JFK's 8-0 run before halftime to take an 8-point lead into the break. And then they just controlled the second half completely. McDonald's offense wasn't what we are used to accustomed to seeing. And JFK's defense, you get props for that. And then you give major props to Cam Hollabaugh because that kid is just, I don't want to say freak because that's kind of a negative term, but he's a freak in nature a little bit when you look at his athleticism and his ability to be phenomenal in multiple sports. I mean, it's like whatever drop of the hat, hey, I'm going to be dominant in basketball, I'm going to go be dominant on the baseball diamond tomorrow. I mean, it's just one of those once-in-a-lifetime athletes that you get to see and you get to watch, and we're really proud that we get to cover him.
He is a very good possibility. He's already won the Trumbull County Football Player of the Year. There is a possibility he becomes the Trumbull County Basketball Player of the Year pretty soon. Which I can't even remember the last time we had one athlete win Trumbull County Athletic Player or Trumbull County Football and Basketball Player of the Year. I don't even know if it's ever been done.
You know, you don't want to put the cart before the horse, but he's got a good chance to win Trumbull County Baseball Player of the Year.
Yeah. I mean, it could be.
I mean, when you look at he's going to Walsh to play football and baseball, so you would imagine if he wins Trumbull County Basketball Player of the Year, that's the one sport he's not going to college to play. So he could go off and win Trumbull County, he sweeps the whole athletic board.
Yeah, so JFK will wind up playing in their regional semifinal. Warren JFK gets to play Lucas, that's a winnable game.
Who's the team that knocked McDonald out last year, if I'm not mistaken. So they get to kind of not just beat McDonald this week, but then they get to go and make a statement against the team that McDonald lost to last season.
Now, the team that Bristol has to play, unfortunately, is the favorite in this region. That would be Richmond Heights, and that'll be the late game on Tuesday night at 8 o'clock over at Akron Firestone High School. Richmond Heights is solid, and there's a good chance JFK could be playing Richmond Heights. It would be great if it was JFK and Bristol. It's interesting, D2, D3, and D4, all of our local teams, because there are 6 local teams, and what I mean by local is someone from Trumbull, Mahoning, or Columbiana counties. 5 of these teams are YSN schools. Division 2, Struthers is playing Akron St. V. Cheney will get Gilmore Academy. Both of those games at Barberton High School on Thursday at 5:30 and 8:15. In Division 3, at 5:30 and at 8 o'clock. Cardinal Mooney gets Cleveland Heights Lutheran East at 5:30. Springfield gets Creston Norwayne at 8 o'clock. And Division 4 on Tuesday at 5:30. JFK gets Lucas. At 8 o'clock, Bristol gets Richmond Heights. There's a chance, albeit kind of slim, that we could have an all-local regional championship game, which would mean we're guaranteed to have a boys team go to the state tournament for the first time in about 11 years. I think it was Peyton Aldridge and LeBray. Right. He led LeBray on his junior year, if I'm not mistaken, to the promised land, into the Final Four. It's been quite a while since we've seen a boys team go into the state tournament. I want to throw this out.
The odds are in our favor.
The odds are in our favor because we have 6 teams in 3 divisions that are local. Trumbull, Mahoning, Columbiana County local. One thing that I definitely want to put out is the fact for the first time in 4 years, the boys basketball in this area, Trumbull, Mahoning, Columbiana counties, had a record above 500 against out-of-town teams in the district tournament this year. 5 wins, 3 losses. That's the first time it's happened in in quite a while.
Well,
That's a big time sign that basketball's starting to come back.
And those 3 losses, if I'm not, I mean, there were several games that were winnable. Were games that Pymatuning Valley won against South Range
by 1 point.
5-3 with the caveat that 3 of those losses were kind of winnable games that could have been going the other way. So a very impressive basketball season. We've been saying it all year. Basketball in the area is on the rise. We're seeing more and more talent, more and more milestones being achieved, and you just kind of have to keep taking those steps and hope that this area keeps growing in basketball.
For a second straight year, we have a representative in girls basketball to a state semifinal, and hopefully this year we get to actually play the game.
And McDonald dominated that game. I mean, ended up being 8 points, but when you really, I was there when you watch it. They were just a better team on the floor for the whole night, from the whistle to the whistle. I kind of saw it coming a little bit because I thought Shadyside kind of, I don't want to say lucked into that game, but they had some bounces go their way against Loudonville that let them run away with that game. So I was thinking, man, they're a better matchup for McDonald. They are. McDonald matches up a lot better with Shadyside than they would have against Loudonville. So I was going into that game thinking McDonald's got a serious chance to go to state, and they dominated that game from buzzer to buzzer. They didn't lose focus, and props to them.
All right, Poland girls lost to Perry. South Range wound up winning their first game. Unfortunately, could not win the regional championship for a second straight year.
You said it was Struthers. You have to play 4 quarters at this stage, and unfortunately, South Range dug themselves into a 24-4 hole. And eventually they came all the way back. They cut it to 1 point, 37-36, and then I believe it was 39-38. But then, Ron, and what I'm telling you that this Brooklyn Troyer girl for Waynedale put the team on her back. I mean, literally took the team and put them on her back. Like, I think she was on a back brace after the game because Waynedale was dead in the water. South Range was stopping them. They'd only scored 13 points since being up 24-4. The momentum was completely shifted. Their threes weren't going in. And South Range cut it to a 1 point game in the 4th quarter. And Brooklyn Troyer, a senior, said, "My season is not ending here." And she scored the last 18 points of the game for Waynedale. It was one of the most remarkable just turn a switch on and take over the game performances I've ever seen. It was just incredible.
Waynedale will take on Ottawa Glandorf, who's 25-2 in the state semifinals on Thursday afternoon at 5 o'clock. The winner of that game gets the winner of Berlin Highland and Cincinnati Purcell Marion. That game will be on Thursday at 8 o'clock. Berlin Highland is the overwhelming favorite to win a state championship.
But that being said, Glandorf finished ahead of them in the AP poll.
Yes, they did.
So,
they did.
And Glandorf also beat the girls basketball factory that is Afrocentric in the regional finals. So that was pretty impressive to see, too.
McDonald girls will be playing Waterford, who comes into this game 20 wins, 6 losses. McDonald 23-2. That game will be played on Thursday at 2 in the afternoon. The winner of that game gets to take on the winner of the first game on Thursday at 11 a.m. Convoy Crestview, 23-3, taking on who could be the best team in the state of Ohio in Division IV, Fort Laramie, out of that ridiculous Midwest Athletic Conference, 27-1.
Might be one of the best teams in the state, period, because they went up to Glen Oak, who was a Division One regional finalist. They lost to Hoban in the regional finals. They beat them by 26. They went to Ottawa Glandorf, who was in the state semifinals in Division III.
This is a D4 team that beats the hell out of a good D1 team.
And they went to Division III Ottawa Glandorf, who's in the state semifinal, AP number 1 in Division III.
Playing Apple Creek Waynedale, the team that South Range just lost to.
And Fort Laramie beat them by 19.
Holy smokes.
So when they're on, they're on. I mean, it's still girls basketball in high school, so anyone can have a good day off and have an off night and be beat. I mean, Highland had to escape against, I think, Willard in the regional semifinals. So any team can lose at any point if they don't show up. But if Fort Laramie shows up and plays their style of basketball, then
they're tough to beat.
We'll just put it that way.
Yeah,
but McDonald's first game, very favorable matchup for the Blue Devils. I think I haven't gotten all the film on Waterford yet, but I've been told by some people in our community about a girls basketball community that that's a winnable game. So we'll see if McDonald can make it a business trip and not make it a ooh-ah, we're in Dayton and kind of get lost in the lights. If they can kind of go and take care of business and stay the focus they had in the regional tournament, then I think they can have chances to win that game.
This is the second straight year that the girls finished 500 in the regional tournaments against out-of-town teams. Again, second straight year that we get someone to go down to Dayton to participate in the Final Four. And unlike last year, hopefully this year we'll actually play the state tournaments and not be denied of that, which I think we're going to.
I think we're on the trend
I think we are on the trend.
The other good news is, the COVID restrictions have been laxed a little bit because the numbers are progressing well. Each school is going to get 650 tickets for Dayton per game. So, that's a lot more than the 300 that we've had for the district tournaments and the regular season. So it's nice to see that the numbers are trending in the right way. We're starting to get a little bit more fans there. I went to Perry. It kind of, for the first time, felt like a tournament game because 650 from each school were there, and they were rocking with every play. So it's starting to get a little bit back to normalcy. Not exactly all the way back, but at least you're starting to get that tournament atmosphere back a little bit.
Flip back to the boys real quick. It's regional week for the boys, and we have 6 local teams, local being anywhere from Trumbull, Mahoning, Columbiana counties, in 3 different divisions. It's important to say this. In 2017-2018, our area went winless in the regional tournaments. We had 2 games. Both games were losses. In 2018-2019, we had 4 games against out-of-town teams. The area won but 1 game. 2019-2020
didn't get to play.
There was 1 game that was played, but we only want to count that because the whole season was stopped regional week, so we're not even going to count that. So 1-5 in the last 3 years. There is a sense where we need to start winning some ball games, and I think that I think we're going to get multiple teams into the regional championship. I really believe that we will get some teams into the regional title game. When we go to Division II, Division III, Division IV, well, we're not going to sugarcoat this. Akron St. V's is the favorite in Division II. When you get to Division III, the favorite in Division III is Lutheran East, the team Mooney plays. When you get to Division IV, Richmond Heights is the favorite. Doesn't mean they're going to win the games. It just means on paper right now they're the favorite. I like Mooney's chances against Lutheran East.
Yeah, and I really like Springfield's chances in their first regional game. So, I mean, if Springfield takes care of business and then Mooney pulls off the win and gets the upset,
then you get Mooney and Springfield.
You get guaranteed a team in state.
Exactly.
So that's what we're hoping for. We have 3 chances for guaranteed teams in state, 3 chances for all YSN regional championships. Before we go in and get Dana Balish on, wanted to have the programming note because we had a lot of questions this morning. YSN is done with their broadcast for basketball due to, in the state tournament, they have the deal with Spectrum. So Spectrum is taking over for McDonald's state run. And then all the regional sites for boys are going to have their own broadcast set up. So it's kind of like YSN, it'd be kind of futile to set up a broadcast for YSN when there's already the site taking care of it. We will have links to those broadcasts on the team's page that you can get to easily through YSN if you're having trouble finding them. We'll try to find them for you. But as far as live broadcasts go, YSN's broadcasts are done. We will absolutely have coverage, stories, social media updates, and everything that comes with that. So we're not going to ditch our basketball players that are playing on.
And knock on wood, maybe we'll get some coaches on Running Point this week.
Exactly. So definitely still going to have all the coverage that you're used to from YSN, but as far as live game broadcasts are concerned, the regionals this aren't going to be on YSN.
Yeah, so we're done with basketball. We patiently await baseball, which starts 3 weeks from today. Right. I'm not counting or anything like that. I'm just,
we're going to have some exciting things coming up too to preview baseball season. And your YSN is not going to go dark for 3 weeks until baseball starts. We're going to have a lot of stuff going up on the website, previews for baseball season and everything else. So don't go anywhere. Don't tune out of YSN for the next 3 weeks because we're going to have a lot of fun stuff.
And I'm going to be umpiring this year. Having some fun with that. Behind the dish, on the bases. I'm going to have some fun with that.
Those games are done. JVs,
wire me up.
He did this have an optometrist commercial the last week. So.
Hey, listen.
Appointment, not commercial.
Listen. All I know is next week or this week, depending on how fast these lenses come in, I will have perfect 20/20 vision by the time the season starts. That's,
I think some fans might want to add another 0 to that 20/20.
Well, you can add it all you want to. I can make the argument right now with these lenses. Yeah, I might miss a few things. I'll be honest, but with the new lenses, I'm not going to miss anything. I'm going to have 20/20 vision. So so if I screw something up, then you're an idiot. Well, you're just figuring this out. Really? 330-886-0813, the MP Vivo Heating and Air Conditioning Hotline, open for business. We'll take a time out. On the other side, Dana Balish from TV 21 joins us. Our weekly chats with 21 Sports Director Dana Balish. Coming up at 2 o'clock, we'll hear from Bob Hannon. We haven't talked YSU football. Penguins actually played a solid football game for about 2.5 quarters against Southern Illinois.
We'll talk more, but I think I said it last week, naming a starter and actually rolling with him and being able to back him, I think did wonders for the team. I really think. I think because eventually, if you're just going back and forth between two quarterbacks, the team doesn't have confidence in either one.
Yeah.
And I felt like the leadership was there and the cohesiveness was there with the offense a little bit.
Yeah, I think the schedule was to go back to the other quarterback, but then when Mark Wade started the game and the first 2 drives, he led the Penguins to 2 touchdowns. Now the second drive was a shortened field thanks to an interception, but still 2 drives, 2 touchdowns. Well, you're not taking Mark Wade out of the ballgame at that point for Joe Craycraft. That's not going to happen. So you run with Wade the rest of the game. And he actually played a decent game.
He really does that read option really well.
Yeah, he certainly does. We're going to take a timeout. On the other end, we will hear from 21 Sports Director Dana Balish. He's coming up next. It is a Monday edition of Running Points presented by the good folks at Greenwood Chevrolet on Mahoning Avenue in Austintown. If you're in the market for a brand new or slightly used automobile, do yourself a favor. Please, 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 before you put pen to paper, head over to Greenwood Chevrolet on Mahoning Avenue in Austintown. Give those folks the opportunity to win your business. I'm going to tell you right now, you are not going to be sorry if you do this. They're that good. All right, Dana Balish coming up next. Stick around.
New things happen all day. Some are good, some not so good. In today's complicated world, while you're busy working, playing, and living life, we're busy helping you make sense of the day's news. And there's only one place where it comes together with clarity, context, and accountability. It's 21 News at 6 with me, Madison Tromler, and Derek Steyer.
21 News at 6. It's what the day's news really means to you.
Welcome home to a home made homier with Baird Brothers Fine Hardwoods. Inspiration starts at BairdBrothers.com and is turned into reality when high-quality hardwoods are delivered right to your home. Baird Brothers has the latest design trends, shiplap and skinny lap interior siding, antique oak rustic flooring, and, well, you'll find them all at BairdBrothers.com. Ordered easily, delivered conveniently, enjoyed comfortably. BairdBrothers.com.
WRS Wealth Advisors, the area's premier wealth and retirement specialists. Located on South Avenue in Boardman.
Hi, this is Jim Myers with Myers Family Insurance, your local Medicare and retirement resource. We're excited to have sports back. Whether you're on the field or cheering from the stands, sports unifies communities and brings hope for the future. We're all one team working together. At Myers Family Insurance, we know the importance of a great team.
Our team continues to grow to help you with your Medicare and retirement needs.
The annual election period is October 15th through December 7th. Now's the time to make sure your plan continues to meet your needs for the upcoming year.
Call today.
Hi, I'm Colin Chupa. And I'm Kelsey Clem from K-Squared Marketing. Our boutique marketing firm specializes in media planning and buying, public relations, event marketing strategies, and strategic sponsorships. We can integrate our services with your existing game plan, or we can be your entire marketing team. Your goals, our game plan. Let's win together. Call K-Squared Marketing at 330-623-2730 or visit ksquared.marketing to learn more.
Welcome back to a Monday edition of Running Point, presented by Greenwood Chevrolet on Mahoning Avenue in Austintown. MP Vivo Heating and Air Conditioning hotline open for business, 330-886-0813. And we are pleased to be joined on this segment, as always, on this Monday afternoon by 21 Sports Director Dana Balish. Dana, how are you today, sir?
Doing well, Ron. Yourself?
Doing well, sir. Okay, over the weekend, high school basketball in the Mahoning Valley, and I've been saying this for the last 4 or 5 years, that the basketball has improved, and the records would indicate that. I've been keeping track over the last 4 years, and for the first time in 4 years, the boys, when playing an out-of-town opponent, and an out-of-town opponent is defined as being a team that is located outside of Trumbull, Mahoning, or Columbiana counties, the boys, for the first time in district play, had a record above 500, and for the second straight year, the girls finished at 500 on a regional level. Is it safe to say that basketball in this area has been dramatically improved, Dana?
Well, I think this year you kind of have to put an asterisk next to it, Ron, because the districts were devised up differently. Instead of having 4 districts, really you only had 2 districts, in the area and so on and so forth. We had West Branch girls go to the finals last year. The Final Four, you have the McDonald girls, so that's another team. And the boys, Struthers and Cheney. Now, keep in mind, in the old district, they would have played each other, so only one team would have been there. In the regionals, if they were divided the way they were last year. So I don't know. Is basketball back? I don't know if that's the right terminology, because I think this year is kind of a year that I know they're playing, but it wasn't a complete full season. Struthers played 23 games and is undefeated. Cheney's had a remarkable season. JFK, has had a good season. I don't know. I guess that's up to everyone's own analysis.
And once again, I just want to props to the 21 sports team for a really busy Saturday, and they were everywhere, it seemed like. So you guys did a great job, especially on Saturday, a very busy Saturday. I want to give you guys the props for that, because a lot of teams are playing kind of far away. I saw you guys at Cuyahoga Falls, saw you guys at Massillon, so good job with that. But when you think about what makes this time of year so much fun as a sports reporter and as a sports media player to see these local teams kind of make it to their Sweet 16 of the boys and make it to the Final Four if you're the girls, and see some of these teams that we cover all year really reach their goals that they set at the beginning of the season?
Well, look, I've been doing this for 30 years, and I think when you have a guy like Tony Mattizi at McDonald, who's never been to the Final Four, he's been coaching for nearly 30 years, that's the excitement that I see. I know for the kids it's very exciting. I know for the communities it's exciting. But I kind of look at the coaches who haven't had that opportunity, and Coach Mattizi is one of those guys. I talked to him this morning, and he says his phone's ringing off the hook, and I feel good for guys like that. I feel good for the coaches because they put in a lot of work. The players get their accolades as they should, the communities, but again, you have to keep in mind, like McDonald, their community was not able to follow them through this run because of COVID. Now, they're allotted 650 tickets for the state finals, and if they would make it to the championship game, so that will be a little bit more. So basketball is always fun to cover. March, the first, couple weeks in March are fun because, you're in the districts, you're in the regionals, and you put football on top of that with YSU. So it's a busy time of year for us.
Speaking of football, you tweeted out about 15 minutes ago that the executive director of the Ohio High School Athletic Association is in talks with Tom Benson Hall of Fame Stadium and Mapry Stadium in Columbus for the 2021 state football finals. It'd be interesting if you can get it back to Tom Benson Stadium, although Mapfre Stadium, this is the former home of the Columbus Crew. That's actually not a bad spot to put the state championships in.
Well, Ron, several years ago when Ohio Stadium was undergoing their renovation, that's where Ohio State played their spring game, and I was able to go to that. I mean, Mapfre Stadium is getting turf. They've shown some interest, and the executive director told me, and I talked to him about an hour ago, basically said, hey, look, we're looking for anybody else who is interested in hosting. Although they don't want it to be a one-year deal, they're looking for a 3-year deal. So I think Fortress Obets could be could be in some of those talks again. But Tom Benson Hall of Fame Stadium is back on the list because they did not host in 2020. Mapfre Stadium again could be a very good site because of just how compact it is. And I think that's kind of what they're looking for. I think the days of playing at Ohio Stadium are long gone. I don't think we'll ever see that again.
Dan,
at least currently, I don't think we'll see it again.
Let me ask you, because there are a couple of colleges that have the facilities, and Lord knows they have the capacity. Infocision Stadium in Akron, Dick Stadium at Kent, Stambaugh Stadium at Youngstown. Is there a possibility that a college could jump into the fray and say, hey, listen, we'll be more than happy to take on the responsibility of having a state championship game in our facilities?
Ron, it all comes down to expenses, and that's what it's going to come down to with this as well. I mean, the Ohio High School Athletic Association is facing something in the coming months that they haven't faced in probably 40 years, and that's asking members to pay a membership due. Now, the cost of that membership due is not known. It could be based on tournaments, it could be based on the number of teams you have, or it could be a flat fee. So that it's all based on revenue. I mean, 80% of the revenue generated by the Ohio High School Athletic Association comes from tournament ticket sales. Now, last year you didn't have the basketball tournament, which is a huge tournament, and you had no softball, you had no baseball, and also, football was very limited. So, this is all about dollars and cents in my estimation. I mean, again, schools are going to be asked to pay. It's almost done. It has to be approved by the board of directors. It's not a referendum issue where the membership will vote. It's a constitutional change. So depending on what happens there, I think will determine kind of where they want to go with this.
Schools are going to have to. Well, it's not official yet, but schools will have to pay if that was going to be a thing. Is there a avenue for God forbid schools that don't like that and don't want to pay that due to say, okay, we'll go do our own thing then?
There's always that possibility. I mean, this is, and again, if you look at the Ohio High School Athletic Association, I mean, schools don't pay for insurance, so if there's a catastrophic injury, that's all picked up by the Ohio High School Athletic Association, by their carrier. If an accident happens or an injury happens in football, basketball, I mean, that's all covered by their insurance, and so on and so forth. So schools will have that option to determine kind of what they want to do if they don't want to pay the membership fee. What that cost will be. Look, I think if that membership cost is $500, I'm like, okay, you know what, $500. And again, I've talked to several superintendents already, and they say, there's, high school athletics and extracurricular activities and sports is important for our district. So, they don't have a problem with that. But if you get into the $1,000 range, the $1,500 or $2,000 range, and again, you're coming off a year where schools made no money, athletic departments made very little money because of the pandemic, I mean, that's something that they have to do. So I think, once they figure that out, they could kind of decide what they want to do with rental fees. But Ron, I think one thing that's going to stick next year, and Executive Director, you told me this today, is, playing these districts, in basketball and football, playing these districts, or playing at home sites all the way through, to the finals or the Final Four in certain sports. I think that's something that's going to stick around. I really, really think that's the case.
No, and it makes the regular season that much more important. I kind of agree with, now looking back on this, I kind of agree in some way with this. Now your regular season is going to be really, really important, that if you have a great season, there's a very good chance that you could have the number one seed, which gives you carte blanche all the way through the regional semifinals, or in football's case, all the way to the state semifinals.
Well, again, I think that's something they're going to look at because, let's look at it. In basketball and in football, you're going to neutral sites and you're paying a fee. Not only is the OHSA paying that fee, there's also a fee for, that schools will get, but it's usually not enough to cover the cost of the event going on. So I think if you go to these high schools, I think it's a good idea. I mean, look, the Canton Civic Center is a arena. It's not a basketball arena. It's a multi-purpose center. I have never seen that place full in my 30 years of covering. Now, I've seen it close to being full, but not over capacity, not this or that. The field house, I've seen the full capacity. But the field house is a high school, so I think, they did a very good job this year. I think it's something that they're going to talk about next year for football and basketball. Look at wrestling this weekend, 3 different sites, all at high schools. So I think this is something that is positive out of this pandemic, that the OHSA can go ahead and say, okay, you know what, it worked. Let's take a look at it and see if it continues to work.
Yeah, and you talk about, being able to have that leniency and not have to worry about paying the fees to get to regionals or districts or the neutral sites it may be. But would it, on the flip side, the schools that do host the districts get the extra boost from that? Would they kind of, would they have a gripe with not being in the host of a district anymore, like Struthers, like Salem, like Boardman? And the things that they get to do when they get to host a district tournament?
I haven't heard from those types of people, but I think, look, if you have an opportunity for your home school to host a district, and many times, look, when they're in over the years, there's been a district game at Boardman, a district semifinal game, and Boardman is playing that same night somewhere else. So, there's a lot of maneuvering to make sure the game workers are there, and the athletic director has to go. He has to be in 2 places at one time, and he can't do that. So I think the formula they have now is very, very good. I think it works. We'll see how it goes with the boys regional. The boys regionals are, start tomorrow. So, Firestone is a new place. Barberton has hosted the girls regional. Tomorrow should not be an issue with the boys because of limited ticket sales. But I don't know if I don't know if Barberton would be big enough in a normal year to host a D2 boys. Akron Firestone is hosting D4. Or Twinsburg is hosting D3. So I just don't know, if those schools in normal years would be able to accommodate crowds. I think Twinsburg is okay. Firestone I haven't been to in years, and Barberton I don't know if that can host a D2 boys during a normal year with unlimited fans, so to speak.
TV 21 Sports Director Dana Ballas joining us on the MP Vivo Heating and Air Conditioning Hotline. Dana, you and I were at the game on Saturday, YSU losing to Southern Illinois. With that loss, a lot of improvement with the Penguins, and I think Saturday, I should say, Penguins may have found their starting quarterback, as Mark Wade started the game and was not taken out of the game after a hot start. This might be a good sign that Mark Wade is ready to take control.
Well, and again, I think, Craig and Coach Phillips said it afterward. Craig Kraft has been nursing an injury, and they may have held him out, because of that. Is this Mark Wade's team for the time being? It appears to be. They moved the ball in critical situations. They'll run late in the game when they needed to deliver. They just couldn't deliver that. Needed to pick up a key first down or something like that. They just couldn't deliver. So I think it's a work in progress. I think there was substantial jump from game 1 to game 3. I think when you're putting guys in, the flow kind of gets disrupted, but you saw McLaughlin was in there for the majority of the time. He looked good, rushed for over 100 yards. Wade, did what he had to do. I think he was kind of in a rhythm a little bit. I think when a quarterback and a running back are in a rhythm, I think that filters out to your receivers. There's still plenty of improvement that they have to make, but I was encouraged by what I saw on Saturday. They jumped out to the double-digit lead, and Southern Illinois came right back and scored and kind of took the wind out of the place, because they scored not only to end the first half, but came out and scored on the first drive in the second half. And at that point, it was a one-possession game, and YSU just needed that break, and they just but that's part of the process. That's part of the growing up. But now that you've reached this point, you're going on the road now and facing a very good South Dakota State. You can't take 2 steps back now. Because after Saturday, that's the midway point. I mean, you got 4 games down, 4 to go.
Yeah, and I think if you told Coach Phillips, maybe a couple months ago or even a month ago, that say, hey, in game 4, you're going to start to be, the problems of this team are going to be learning how to win, learning how to finish games. I think he'd be pretty happy with that, getting to that point in game 4. Like you said, what a jump from 1 to 3, especially from 2 to 3, because it seemed like game 1 and game 2, the offense didn't really make much of a progress. So to see that jump from game 2 to game 3, very promising for the Penguins.
Well, the thing that I look at is game 1, you kind of had everybody playing. You had Dan Becker, you had C.J. Charleston, you had DeMarco Craig. They did not play in game 2, so you kind of got to look at the personnel as well. And I think that's where you see the jump. And again, I think now you got to make improvements a little bit more. I mean, defensively, a week ago we were talking about how good the defense was. Well, the defense, gave up a double-digit lead, so I think some work has to go on there. I think the offense took drastic steps from 1 to 3, and again, you look for that improvement, from 3 to 4 now. But I think anybody who listened or watched the game, has to be encouraged, because this is a young group, and young group, you got to grow up fast, and I think, again, from week 1 to week 3, I think they've made good strides.
Dana Ballas, 21 Sports Director, joining us on the MP Vivo Heating and Air Conditioning Hotline. Dana, before we let you go, Jason Kokrak, a very solid showing at the Arnold Palmer Invitational over the weekend. Another top 10 finish for the JFK grad. One tournament win on the PGA Tour, but he has pocketed some serious do-re-mi this year. And if he can keep it together for 36 holes and make the cut next month at Augusta, he has a pretty good shot, because Augusta seems to be a course tailored for Jason Kokrak.
Well, and again, it's just, look, golf is a funny game. You could be splendid one day and terrible the next. I mean, you got to play 4 consistent rounds. The thing with Jason is, he won late last year. He is off to a good start this year. You kind of have to keep that going, and again, I don't know what his plans are, whether he's going to take a week off or 2 weeks off before that first major, but look, you got to have your head on straight. You got to be focused. He played at Augusta last year, which I think will help him this year. Last year, was the first time he was there. So, that's still a couple of weeks away, but Ron, it's consistency. It's, staying hot. and just playing your game. And again, it's the little mistakes that have proved costly for him. And you just can't afford it when you're playing against the world's best. I mean, every mistake is costly, especially, in golf when you're going up against those types of guys. So, look, a top five finish for Ryan Blaney in NASCAR was a good weekend for, just about everybody.
Dana, always a pleasure. Look forward to catching up with you next week, brother.
Thanks, guys.
You got it. Dana Ball is 21 Sports Director, giving us a shout on the MP Vivo Heating and Air Conditioning Hotline. I'm glad that Dana mentioned that as well. Ryan Blaney had a top five finish in Vegas yesterday. A couple of kids from Trumbull County or ties to Trumbull County. That's not too shabby. You get a top 10 finish on the PGA Tour in a really unofficially the fifth major in the Arnold Palmer Invitational. And then you have Ryan Blaney finishing top five on the NASCAR circuit in Vegas. Not too shabby. And then word today coming down the pike, Bob Stoops is replacing Urban Meyer on the pregame show on Fox.
And he did a good job in his brief broadcasting stint before he went to coach the XFL, because he did a little dabbling in broadcasting before he went back to coaching in the XFL. And he did a really good job at it. Not every coach is going to be transferable into a good broadcaster. We all know that. But Bob Stoops, the Mooney grad, does a pretty good job at it. So I'm excited to see what he'll do now that he's given the reins of a full-time analyst.
Yeah, I'll be really curious to see how his talent meshes with Reggie Bush and Matt Leinart and the rest of those guys on the studio. That'll be fun.
It'll be fun.
Yeah, it'll definitely be fun.
And, he won't have to talk about his brother because Fox owns the Big Ten and the Big 12, so he won't be talking too much about Kentucky.
Probably not.
There won't be a lot of conflict of interest there.
Yeah. Probably won't be talking too much about how his brother's doing in Kentucky for the reasons you just mentioned, partner.
He'll be talking a lot of Big 12, and that's one of the other reasons I think they got him, because he obviously spent so much time in the Big 12. He knows all those programs, and he kind of knows how those programs operate. So he'll be able to bring a lot of insight into the Big 12 football, just like Urban Meyer was able to bring a lot of insight into Big 10 football.
Man, I'm just fired up for the fact that, assuming President Biden has given us accurate information that every American will have access to the vaccines by the end of May, by September.
Once again, that's a hope, though. It's not like
by September,
right?
If everyone is vaccinated, you don't have to wear the mask, you don't have to do anything, and everyone will be pretty much back to normal, where you can go to some college and pro games, and hopefully by then everything will be back to normal. Yeah, exactly. It's normal calling. We're allowed to go back to our games and whatnot. Yeah, I can't wait. I just want everything to be back to normal so I can go to a sporting event, cover a sporting event, not have to wear a mask on my face when I'm at said sporting event. I want everything to be back to normal.
And what I can't wait is I can't wait to not get a dirty look every time I cough in public.
Well, that's
because like you sneeze and it's like,
yeah, everyone's kind of looking at you like, you better have that mask on. I better not have had any particles come anywhere near me. I sneezed. Get over it. Good Lord.
It's like your nose is a loaded weapon now.
Yeah. I have a .357 Magnum nose, and I'm not afraid to use it, mister.
Hit the deck.
330-886-0813. We're back in a bit. It's a Monday edition of Running Point presented by Greenwood Chevrolet.
Baird Brothers remains your source for fine hardwood products. For the time being, we're open for customer pickup only on weekdays, 9 a.m. to 4 p.m., and Saturday from 9 a.m. till noon. Place your order online at BairdBrothers.com. Baird Brothers, for the place you love.
Quality, customer service, and integrity. Those are the 4 words that have driven our success since 1957 at Joe Dickey Electric.
Joe Dickey Electric is one Mahoning Valley landmark business that stays current with the requirements of our customers. Family owned and managed, we are an electrical contractor and energy solutions provider. Every member of our team adds to his or her skill set through ongoing training. residential, commercial, industrial, automotive, and more. We keep ahead of the needs of our customers with a fleet of more than 50 vehicles and 24/7 emergency service, so you're never left in the dark.
The 4M Company, being an architect and construction manager for over 40 years, has had the opportunity to use many different electrical businesses for our projects. The depth, quality, and knowledge and attention to detail displayed by Dickey Electric makes them stand out above all the rest.
For state-of-the-art expertise and a timeless commitment to our customers, contact Joe Dickey Electric. We are everything electrical.
I went to Greenwood Chevrolet because I was really interested in looking at the tracks.
Because I wanted my dream truck.
Because I've been going there for 20 years. I think whenever we go there, whatever car we're looking for, they have tremendous inventory.
If you're looking for people who care about you, Greenwood is the place to go.
You know, it's like family there. The girls know me in service. It's Miss Kim in the Tahoe.
I'm really happy that I went
to Greenwood Chevrolet.
Because they really went
the extra mile for me.
Now we're going the extra mile for you, only at Greenwood Chevrolet.
Local teams are heating up the hardwoods, and you can keep up with all the action on and off the court with Five Guys Hoop News all season long on 21 Sports.
When looking for home design inspiration, don't just be inspired, be Baird inspired. Whether new or remodeling, Baird Brothers has the latest trends like shiplap to refresh your home. Go from inspiration to installation with our wide selection of in-stock American hardwoods. From the rustic charm of antique oak to the warmth of traditional cherry, Baird Brothers has what you need to make your home inspiring. Baird Brothers, our family's heritage, your family's home.
Welcome back to a Monday edition of Running Point, presented by Greenwood Chevrolet on Mahoning Avenue in Austintown. The MP Vivo Heating and Air Conditioning Hotline open for business, 330-886-0813, where Champ is standing by. Champ, what's going on, my brother?
How you doing, Ron?
I'm good. Yourself?
Pretty good. Yeah, I want to talk a little baseball, but I want to get into my my pet peeve I have all the time with some rules in certain sports. But this one, you know, I actually had an argument with myself for about 10 minutes yesterday about this, and I convinced myself to let it go. But, you know, and I'm talking about golf. I was watching the tournament.
Hold on, Champ, before we even go any further, do you have when you're arguing with yourself, do you have a pro and con, or how is this working here?
Well, it doesn't go too long because one thing we both have in common is we both like food. So we end up convinced that we're both hungry to go eat or whatever. But it's when you spend a lot of time watching sports by yourself, you tend to do those things, as you know.
This is true. I cannot deny what you are saying. I've had more than a couple of conversations with myself, which is kind of weird, but whatever. I'm a complete weirdo anyway. So
talking to those voices in your head, Ron.
Well, I'm just, as long as they don't answer me, it's all good. That's my argument, and you know it is what it is. All right, it continues, sir.
Yeah, and I'm going to make this point quick because we're already too much on it. But, you know, in golf, they have rules where when something is man-made, okay, that if your golf ball hits it, you get like a free drop or you can move it away from. I understand that, okay? And that makes sense. Every rule in golf kind of makes sense to me except for one rule. When you hit a drive right down the middle of the fairway, 350 yards, beautiful, and it rolls in someone's divot, and you're not allowed to move it. And it's like, how was that guy's fault, number one? Number two, he hit it perfectly down the fairway. And if that was like a big puddle of water, the ball would be able to remove out. But because someone else made a divot that maybe didn't fix it now, and this happened on the 18th hole, if you watched yesterday, they could have affected the ability for, I can't remember the guy's name, to hit his third shot. But why is that a rule? And now, but my argument ended yesterday thinking, well, but it's the same for everybody, so why dwell on it?
Well, here's what I would say to this. When people sit back and say, and I was thinking the same thing, believe it or not. My dad and I were watching the end of this tournament, and Lee Westwood hit an absolute bomb down the middle of the fairway, and I'm like, holy crap, he's got a chance to at least go to a playoff against Bryson DeChambeau. DeChambeau had a one-stroke lead at the time, and the ball lands on the divot. Now, the first thing that came to mind was, well, wait a second, How come he can't pull out of that divot? And everyone makes the argument, well, it's not man-made. The hell it ain't man-made. Someone made that divot. It is man-made. That should have been taken out of the divot and giving him a second chance and a clearer surface. Now, having said that, he had a pretty damn good second shot, divot and all, onto the green, and he had an opportunity to put some pressure on DeChambeau, and I'll give the muscular DeChambeau steroids. The muscular DeChambeau
You can't be throwing out stuff like that.
I'm not throwing anything out. I'm just,
As a member of Hartwig and Hartwig Associates, I don't have the time for a slander lawsuit, right?
No, he's a big boy. He's a big boy, and give him credit. He had a tough shot, and he drilled it right down the bottom of the cup. That was a great finish by DeChambeau.
This is a conversation we're going to have to pull Brian Tolar into on Wednesday and see what his take on it is. Maybe there's a intricacy in the game of golf of why they do that he knows that we will never know. So we'll definitely have to bring Brian Tolar into that conversation.
But that man-made argument is garbage because that divot didn't come out of thin air. He hacked the course, and it's a divot. That's man-made.
In the same instance, what if it's like instead of a divot, it's like a gopher hole or a little burrow from an animal made? Does that count as a man-made? Because it's a burrow. It's and
one would think that you'd be able to get that ball out of the burrow and put it into the fairway.
But it's not man-made. It's groundhog made.
Yeah. Well, it's that damn gopher from Caddyshack.
I want you to go kill all the gophers. The gophers, not the golfers, you idiot.
Gophers, not the gophers. Continue, sir.
When you guys talked to your golf guy, that was my next point was, first of all, I thought to myself, well, maybe the rule's there because maybe, is it going to be confusing? Like, how big of a divot is it? Or how deep is the ball? Or where you can move it? Maybe that's, technically maybe what it's about. However, I'd ask the golf pro, when you have one, say, well, maybe that shot is not that difficult for those pros. Because every time I see that shot, it seems like they always hit it pretty good. I don't. But maybe that's such an easy shot for them, it doesn't really matter.
Yeah, and when you're out there with your buddies, you're just like, never happened.
Yeah, the ball was in the divot. I'm moving this thing. Are we good with this? Yeah, we're good with this. All right, go ahead. Put it into a nice spot, and then hack away.
As long as you don't go forward or back, I think if you go
side to side.
Side to side, you're fine.
Yeah. Now, like I said, I don't think it would have made much of a difference because DeChambeau had ice water in his veins. I mean, that shot that he hit to save himself from going into a playoff was fantastic.
I'm going to use an analogy before I get to baseball. Is now that, with Tiger Woods out and probably maybe for his career, and Mickelson's older now, is DeChambeau kind of like Steph Curry, what he was to the NBA? He's got this power drive that people just want to watch him hit the ball off the tee, similar to what Steph Curry brought to the NBA. Is he changing the game of golf like Steph Curry did?
I think he can be the next face, and here are a couple of reasons why. One, he does stuff that no one else can do. I mean, he drives like no one else really can. He's got the muscles. But he also does things in a kind of an unconventional way that kind of perks the ears of some golf people, maybe rubs some people the wrong way. But that's always good for ratings, and that's always good for people to view because people will view things that make them angry. So if Bryson DeChambeau comes in, what was a golf course? He said he was just going to hammer it, and he was going to just, drive it as far as he can and let the people don't do that to that course. So I think a lot of golf people were like, even Brian Tolar, well, if that's your strategy, you're not going to have a good day. And then he went and proved everybody wrong and did his, just drive the ball as far as I can deal. So I think he's going to be the next kind of, I don't want to say face of golf, but he's definitely one of the more marketable players on the field right now.
I was going to say, before the weekend, I had very little respect for Bryson DeChambeau.
You called him Bryson DeChambeau.
Yeah, exactly.
You might have heard that.
Very, very little respect for him because he doesn't play golf the way the game should be played. But I got a ton more respect for this guy now after seeing the piece that NBC did on him, his reverence for Arnold Palmer, the fact that he's a golf historian. I got a lot of respect for anyone that pays homage to and is respectful about the history of their craft. now I can sit back and say I'm still not a fan of his, but I got a lot more respect for Bryson DeChambeau because he has the history down.
What you just said, well, he doesn't play the game the golf should be played. I bet a lot of people said that about Tiger when he first came on the scene. Because he was doing big fist bumps and he was getting really energetic.
No, I agree with that.
And I bet a lot of people were like, this isn't right.
Well, the same thing with Ken Griffey Jr. when he was wearing his hat backwards, and everyone looked at this and said, how dare this young man wear his hat backwards? This isn't baseball.
People that go across the grain and at first rub some people the wrong way actually end up bringing more viewers because people watch what makes them angry too.
Yeah.
They might watch because they want to see him fall. They want to see him fail miserably.
And I want to pile on, and then we'll get your take on this. As much as I absolutely despise in all ways, shapes, or forms the bat flipping, which I think is arrogance personified, I have to be the first to admit it has brought some flair back to a game that needs youth that needs a youth inflection in a really, really big way.
And a caveat, Ron, I don't agree with that, but I also respect it because you're not one of the people that disses bat flips, but then are okay with the pitcher doing one of these.
Oh no, I think look, if the dude struck me out and then pulled that shit, I'd sit back and as soon as I hit a ball, it was gone. I'd walk around the bases and glare at him every single opportunity I had.
There are a lot of people that like to play both sides of the fence there and say it's okay when the pitchers fist bump and point at the batter, but then they'll say, "Oh, bat flipping is wrong."
Yeah, no, both of that's wrong. Hypocrisy is not in my game. I see garbage. I call it out regardless. All right, champ, go ahead, sir.
You know what? I'll finish with this. I'll use another sport as I agree with you, Ron. When I was watching this weekend, I thought, man, I think maybe golf needs DeChambeau. I think because in tennis, remember when McEnroe O'Connors go at it all the time? They are very popular, but they are also very edgy, a lot of attitude, a lot of things that people didn't like about them. But we loved to watch him because of that. And then Pete Sampras, nothing against him, came along and just won everything, but no personality, boring. And since McEnroe O'Connor's, tennis has died. And I think golf needs another different kind of personality. All sports do. And I think DeChambeau would be the perfect guy.
No, I agree with you. I do agree with you. And then again, the fact that he is a historian of this game, I got so much more respect for DeChambeau now because at least, unlike most of the people in each sports profession, they have no clue about the history of the game. That's when I just want to look at them and go, how could you possibly be playing a game and you aren't a fan of the history of the game, or you don't know the history of the game? That's absurd to me. I just don't get that. But now I got a lot more respect for DeChambeau, and I now will not call him Bryson DeChambeau anymore. And the reason why I called him that was because he hadn't done squat
he was
this
playing
year.
Really bad.
He was playing really bad, and I called him out. And
I think he heard you.
And I think he heard me. So, I also bet against him. Oh, not bet. I picked against him.
With money on the line.
Oh, there was no money on the line.
There was money on the line if you won. It was free to enter, but if you won...
Yeah, it's free to enter. And I got screwed again, which, your client has some explaining to do on Wednesday. I'm just
Plausible
saying.
deniability. That's what I'm going to go with.
Jim, what else on your mind, brother?
Well, I'm trying to kind of previewing the AL Central baseball because it's going to be here pretty soon. I can't believe I'm kind of fired up.
Royals look really good in spring training.
Yes, they
I
do.
keep seeing winning numbers. Win.
Last year. One thing that really jumps out is this division overall is really not that good of an offensive division except for one team. The White Sox dominates every category offensively in this division. And everyone else is kind of the same. I mean, the Indians, when you look at their stats, I mean, they walked a lot, but their batting average, their offensive stats are arguably worse than Detroit's. But on the other end there, Cleveland, Minnesota, and Chicago are in top 10 of every pitching category last year. And that's why this division arguably is one of the best divisions in terms of overall pitching in the major leagues.
Who did they pitch against last year in that?
Well, they pitched against the NL Central and the AL Central.
So
yeah,
we saw in the playoffs what that pitching did when they went up against a really good offense.
Yeah, it's there's still a really good pitching staff.
Yeah, they're really good. There's just some caveats to the stats they put up. Every team's stats that they put up last season, a little bit of asterisks there, especially the season stats. And we talked about that before the season. How much weight do we put on the season stats this year compared to a game stat or whatever it may be? If someone reaches a season milestone, we can't really accept it because it's not a 162-game season. So we have to take the season stats of last year, offense and defense, and take them with a grain of salt because the offenses usually have 60 games to kind of get into the groove, and then the good offenses start rolling. So we might have seen some offensive low numbers that were skewed by the fact that they only played 60 games as well.
Yeah, there was. I'll be curious to see what happens. But Champ, I agree with you. I think that the Twins, the White Sox, and the Indians, their pitching staffs are all pretty solid top to bottom. Now it's who has the better offense, who has the better defense, and then we'll go from there.
Twins can be shaky on pitching, especially their starters.
I agree with you. And with Odorizzi gone, that's one less starting pitcher that Minnesota has. So I think the Indians and the White Sox are both better than Minnesota in the rotation. The bullpen, Minnesota's got a pretty nice bullpen.
It saved them a lot last year.
Yeah.
Well, we can all agree on one thing. The team that was probably the best team last year, head and shoulders, was improved more than all the other 4 teams of the division this year. That's the White Sox. They're loaded, and they're going for it. And the only weakness they have, really, when you look at their stats, is they don't field the ball very well. They make a lot of errors. That's about it, really. They're strong in everything, but they don't field the ball very well.
And that may come back to haunt them because you get a pitcher who's in a groove, and all of a sudden he has to make extra pitches because the guys behind him aren't doing their job.
I might be wrong, but I feel like last year also they didn't really have a lockdown closer that could come in the ninth
You're right.
inning.
Yeah, they didn't. So it's I agree with you, Champ. They've made the most moves, and on paper they're the best team in the division. I'm not so sure they win this division because that defense is that horrible.
Yeah, and then they got Tony La Russa. It's a very bizarre, interesting story to follow, but they're the team to beat, no doubt. But the Indians still have arguably top 3 pitching in baseball still.
No, I agree with you, and I will just continue to say this. If he stays healthy, Tristan McKenzie's your breakout pitcher and possibly breakout player of 2021. He's that good.
I think when you look, you just said White Sox are the team to beat. I think still you have to give that mantle to Minnesota until someone takes it because Minnesota's won 2 in a row now.
Oh yeah,
in the division. So
I never said that Chicago was a team to beat. Champ did.
Okay, well I'm talking to Champ then. I just think. With preseason, I think you have to give Minnesota the props and the favorite until someone comes out and takes it from them.
Although I would say that, and I'm not saying that people should do this. I'm just saying that there is a lot of great value if you're planning on putting money down on a divisional winner. There's a lot of great value on the Indians, and it's not out of the realm of possibility if the Indians win this division because their pitching staff is that good. And there's going to be some bats in this lineup. This offense isn't as bad as what people think.
Well, you worry about the offense because I did that first, but then you go to the pitching and it's like Indians first. This is Major League. First, second, third, first, second, first. I mean, every category just of pitching. And they've been consistent like this for many years, really. Think about it. It's just something that you expect. And I expect it this year unless injuries if some injuries happen, which they've had with the starters, in September, but there's still that pitching is incredible.
Yeah, they've had 5 Cy Young awards since Sabathia won the award in 2007. So that's pretty amazing that the pitching has been that good, or at least the starting pitching has been that good. And the bullpen with Karinchak and Clase and a couple of other guys. Yeah, the horse whisperer, Emmanuel Clase. Yeah, it'll be fun to watch this year.
Well, there's one team that believes in the Indians because it's the Tigers because they're absolutely just following exactly what the Indians have done. pitching in the farm system and go out to get the hitters if you need them.
Yeah, and
They're doing exactly what the Indians are doing.
The only damn shame of it all is that Miguel Cabrera will probably not live to see, or at least his baseball life will not live to see a Central Division championship team. He'll probably be retired by the time the Tigers get back to winning the division.
That's okay. He was there when they were dominant. So.
Oh, man.
Well, remember, 13, 134. Those are the numbers to remember. 13, 134. Cabrera needs 134 hits and 13 homers. He's 3,500 homers this year. It'd be great. That's what he needs. 13 homers and 134 hits, and he's got it.
He's got a really good chance of getting both this year.
Just protect
That'd be amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Put him in a bubble suit so he doesn't get hurt.
Yeah.
And then he'll be fine.
He's one of the coolest dudes I've had an opportunity to hang out with. He's something else. I've been a big fan of his ever since he was in the Florida State League as an 18-year-old. He's a good kid.
Yep.
Not
All right, guys.
Anymore.
Yeah.
Good talking to you.
All right.
Good luck this weekend.
See you, champ.
Take care.
330-886-0813, and that was 20 baseball seasons ago. Yeah. God dang.
He started with the Marlins, right?
He started with the Marlins. He was when I was in the Dodger organization in 2002, 20 baseball seasons ago. He was an 18-year-old kid in the Florida State League playing for the Jupiter Hammerheads at the time, because that was the Marlins. That was the Marlins Florida State League affiliate at the time.
I love minor league franchises. The Jupiter Hammerheads.
The Hammerheads.
Yeah, I love it.
The Hammerheads, and then he went to Carolina, played for the Mudcats, and then he went to the major leagues, and he was called up in the major leagues playing a game in Jackson, Tennessee. He dogged he hit a ground ball to the left side of the infield, and he just dogged it up the first base line. And the next inning, he was out of the game, and I had speculated on the air, well, I guess the Carolina manager took umbrage with the fact that Cabrera Cadillac'd up the first base line and really wasn't busting it up the first base line. And then, as it turns out, he and Dontrell Willis, who was not starting that night, were both literally called from the from Marlins front office to the AA manager. Hey, get those two kids. Well, in Cabrera's case, get this kid out of the game. Dontrell had pitched the night before. They're both coming to Miami, so that's where he got the call. And at the middle of the game, you could see Cabrera and Dontrell Willis, because our clubhouses were beyond the left field fence. You could see both of them hightailing it out of Pringles Park in Jackson, Tennessee, where they had Ruffles potato chips and not Pringles chips. Weirdest thing I ever seen in my life.
What? They didn't even. I mean, Pringles sponsored them. Right?
First couple of years, Procter & Gamble was so jacked up about having their namesake, Pringles Park, their namesake, because Pringles chips are made in Jackson, Tennessee, at the Procter & Gamble factory there. That's where they make them. That's the place. So they were so jacked up. They were giving all those little cans of Pringles. They were giving that stuff away, and then after like 3 or 4 years, they're like, yeah, we're not going to give away our product anymore. And we kind of like looked at them and was like, seriously? Yeah, we don't want to give you guys the Pringles chips anymore. Screw you. We're going to put Ruffles in the press box.
There's still there. I hope there was a Pringles stand. You could buy
no,
Pringles.
they never did anything. After 3 or 4 years, they kind of like, yeah, we're peace out. We're just doing the name rights, and once the name rights end in 7 years, we're just gonna leave. Really? What the hell? Yeah, so we started serving Ruffles in the press box.
I don't like Ruffles.
Yeah, well, I mean,
I want a flat chip. I don't want a Ruffles.
I mean, Ruffles were okay, but it's Pringles Park. What the hell? How are we not having Pringles chips at Pringles Park?
It's like going to Coca-Cola sponsored park and having a Pepsi.
Well, that almost came to be in the South. That was kind of fun. All right, 330-886-0813. Bob Hannon coming up next. Stick around, more to come.
Hello, I'm Greg Burbick with G. Burbick Farms. For the last 100 years, my family has farmed in the Columbiana and Mahoning counties. I began raising cattle in 1996 with the goal of providing a better product for you and your family on the dinner table. Our grass-fed and grain-supplemented Black Angus beef are raised with no hormones, steroids, or antibiotics. We're known for our hometown-friendly service and incredible tasting products. We're locally owned and have customers across the tri-state area. Our products go from our farm to your family. Stop by our farm on New Buffalo Road or visit us on the web at gburbickfarms.com. Don't forget to like us on Facebook. G. Burbick Farms, it just tastes better.
Hi, this is Tommy Clem, owner of WRS Insurance Solutions.
WRS Insurance Solutions is a local, independent agency that specializes in life, Medicare, long-term care, and disability products. Call us at 330-953-3722 or visit us at wrsinsuranceSolutions.com to learn more.
Good luck to all the student athletes in the Valley.
Right now is a great time to get more for your trade-in at Tri-State Ford and drive home in a new or pre-owned vehicle. Choose from our great selection of new Ford models or pre-owned vehicles. Plus, get the Tri-State Ford Advantage, including a 10-year, 200,000-mile warranty and more. At Tri-State Ford, we'll pay you top dollar for your trade, but you don't have to purchase one of ours to sell us yours.
Customer focus, community driven. Tri-State Ford East Liverpool or visit tristateford.net.
Welcome back to a Monday edition of Running Point presented by Greenwood Chevrolet on Mahoning Avenue in Austintown. And we are joined on this beautiful Monday afternoon by the voice of the Youngstown State University football team, Bob Hannon. Bob, how are you today, sir?
Ron, hard to complain today. Sunshine, warmer, going to be nice. Next couple days, all good. You?
Yeah, this is a Chamber of Commerce day. It's one of those days where you get someone from the Chamber of Commerce to take all kinds of great pictures and put it on your put it on the Visit Youngstown type of materials that you want to pass out to everyone around the area and on a beautiful sunshiny day and take these beautiful pictures.
Guys, there's not a cloud in the sky. We might not see that for another 31 days. Let's take advantage of it.
Yeah, exactly. A Saturday, kind of a crisp and windy day. The sun didn't come out till the second half, but the football on the field was more than competitive. I thought Youngstown State, given the first two games and the offensive woes, I thought that the offense played pretty well for themselves. Not great, but they put up 22 points against Southern Illinois, and it was a much improved game on the offensive side of the football field in game number 3.
Yeah, for sure, Ron. It wasn't like it was 22 with a late score. I mean, they were driving, chance to tie the game late, and able to run the ball. I thought the offensive line made great strides. McLaughlin able to run, Wade, running the football. No, it was good to see. It was for sure the best offensive performance, and I think what I liked as well is that maybe we've come up with a running back that will be our number one back. Pierce Christian Turner, probably mostly going to be used in the pass game. So. It looked good. I think that Coach Phillips, said there's no moral victories and wants wins, but there were a lot of good things to come out of that game.
One of the things that helped the running game so much, yes, the offensive line played a lot better, but man, Mark Wade runs that read option so well when it's running well. And I think that's something that YSU can really use in the future.
Well, they obviously made the change. Wade first start, played the entire game, so it appears they're committed to him at least. I think probably through the next 2-3 games, unless something happens where he goes backwards with that. I think we still have to see more in the pass game. Now Mark had some drops, especially that last drive, so his numbers could have and probably should have been better than that. But when you can run it like they did, it's going to open up some play-action pass, and it's going to give them an opportunity to be able to throw the ball. Now, that being said, the defense they play this week is probably, the best defense in the conference. But, yeah, I'm with you guys. I think there were so many more positives out of that.
Bob, you made mention Jaleel McLaughlin, 26 carries, $124, found the end zone 2 times, averaged a tick under 5 yards a carry. You can't ask for much more from a YSU running back.
Well, Ron, you saw as well as I did. I mean, he's small, 5'9", 175, but he broke a lot of tackles. I mean, on the touchdown run, he was hit at the 6-yard line and got into the end zone. When I was going to practice, I thought he was the most productive back. I think they were waiting for him to learn the offense. He got in late, understand what to do completely with what they expect out of him, and I think they believe that now. They're going to give him most of the work and most of the reps, and a good thing is we'll see him this spring, next year, and the following year if he stays. He's only a junior, and his eligibility will remain as a junior next year.
First 2 weeks we were propping up the defense, and this week they struggled a little bit, especially when YSU jumped out to the early lead. What kind of things did the defense do well, and what kind of things do they need to improve on next week?
Well, started well, got the pick. I think that was. I think the momentum early was, after the interception, 12-0. Unfortunately, the extra point and the failed 2. I thought the defense played okay. The touchdown right before the half was a big one. We were up 19-7, and Southern went right down the field and made it 19-14, then got the ball to begin the third quarter and seemed to turn the momentum around. A couple of things I see, we've still only created 2 turnovers in 3 games, and I don't think we have a sack yet. So we've got to find a way to dial up some pressure and get pressure. I still think the corners are good. Martin did get burned for the touchdown. He is a freshman. That's going to happen. I like Jakubik. I think pretty good, against the run, not great. They had a back rush for 98 yards. I don't want to be a naysayer, but it was our worst defensive performance of the 3. But I also think they have a lot of weapons. They're a good team. They're going to score. So I think they're going to probably put up big numbers on most teams.
Bob, I like our back 7. I really like our linebackers and our defensive backs, but I'm with you. Until this team gets some serious pressure on the quarterback without blitzing, Youngstown State could be in some trouble down the road, because South Dakota State, not only are they a great offensive team, they're just a great team, period. And hopefully the Penguins will be able to get some heat on their quarterback. If not, it could be a long afternoon.
Yeah, we're going to have to. Ron, they're going with a true freshman, Mark Gronwowski. I think that's how you pronounce his name, and that's a surprise. I mean, he's a true freshman. Gibbs is back, who we saw last year, a third-year sophomore, and put up good numbers. I mean, he played well against Youngstown State last year. Then he got hurt, and now they have a true freshman, a quarterback, and he's put up some pretty good numbers. They scored 45 points last week against Western Illinois. You're right. Even if your back 7's good, if your front 4 is not getting pressure, it's going to be hard for them to hold up.
And when you look at one of the things we've been talking about every week is the attitude, the fight, the body language. I mean, it's gotten even better this week. I thought the energy and the momentum and the way they came out to play in the first quarter, I thought it was very much reason to be hopeful for the rest of the season, to see how these kids are playing at 0-2, and the fact that they're not letting the grind of the season get to them, and they came out so strong in this Week 3 game.
Yeah, I don't think they'll ever quit. I think he's got them bought in. It's still early, and now if you're 0-6 and you're going to Western Illinois and Missouri State, we'll see. Hopefully we can get a win before then, or maybe a couple wins before then. But I do think I never thought there was an issue of playing hard, or we don't have a lot of penalties, not a lot of silly mistakes. Only one play this year. We've been beaten big in a pass game, so I think the fundamental part of it is there. It's getting experience, offensive lines. A lot of coaches will tell you it takes that group longer to become a cohesive unit, so maybe they're getting there as well. Now, there are a lot of good signs about where the program's headed, but we're in a rugged conference, and we didn't do ourselves any favors getting North Dakota, and they're 3-0, and they lead the league, and we'll see them at Stambaugh Stadium coming up down the road.
Bob, as we talk about the fall, and Anthony and I have been saying, we hope and pray that we're back to normal come the fall. Back to normal means we get back to normal crowds. Now, having said that, I thought Saturday's crowd, even though it was small, I thought Saturday's crowd was rocking at times.
I'm pleased with the two crowds. In this past Saturday, it was a little overcast. We're coming off a loss. I didn't think we'd get the number of people we did in there, and I thought they were into the game, so that's a good sign. And I think most of the fans are realistic, knowing it's not going to happen fast. Hopefully by the end of the year we'll be a lot better, and if we can end the year even with a couple wins and feel, okay, we've gotten better, we have some momentum, and come fall, all these young guys will have experience. So I'm with you, Ron. I thought the crowds were good, and I thought at the right times they were making noise, and they became a little bit of a factor in the game.
Yeah, and I think Doug Phillips has already done a tremendous job in being a part of the community and really driving marketing and kind of trying to drive the fans to the games, even though right now it's a limited capacity. But I think that's one of the reasons why we're seeing loud crowds and excited crowds, and patient crowds, knowing that, like you said, it's not going to happen fast. I think the new coaching staff has done a wonderful job in driving home something that the fans can get behind.
And it's a product I think will get better. When I think about this conference, though, I think there are 6 potential teams that are good enough to win playoff games, and 2, max 3, are going to get in. South Dakota and North Dakota, who are coming here later in the year, are both good. And, of course, you got the Bison and South Dakota State. Illinois State's could be in trouble. The Redbirds have now lost 2 games. So if you come out, obviously we want you to support YSU, but you're seeing some really good football.
And the quick turnaround in the fall, the teams that were on the road we're going to be seeing at Stambaugh Stadium, and that would be North Dakota State, South Dakota State. Those 2 behemoths will be coming to Stambaugh in the fall. So, again, yet another good reason, if everything is back to normal, hope and pray that it is, not only is the tailgating going to be solid, so is the competition at Stambaugh Stadium.
Oh, yeah, that schedule looks good next year, Ron, and then hopefully we'll get those big crowds back. I actually think we start on a Thursday night next year, which I like, and then the following Saturday, 9 days later, we'll go to Michigan State as we begin to look ahead.
Wow, yeah, and that's one of the things that it's going to be nice to see back on the schedule, that big-time opponent that really gets fans excited. Win or lose in that game against Michigan State, it's a big move, not just because the program gets money to go there, but it's also just one of the things that really gets everyone at YSU kind of excited that we get to play a big boy in Michigan State.
I think our recruits and players like it when they hear they're playing at Pitt or West Virginia or Michigan State. I think the kids all feel they should have been recruited by those schools. And we beat Pitt in 11, and we played Pitt tough. We lost in overtime one year, and another year Coach Pelini, I think his first year, had them on the ropes. So we've held our own against those schools.
Bob, there's some people that I've been hearing from a national perspective that love the idea of FCS football being played in the springtime and would like to see more of that. I just kind of wonder aloud, with everything going on in football and the very real threat that the Power 5 conferences in Notre Dame may very well ship themselves away from the other Division I products, is that something in the future that you could see where the Power 5 and Notre Dame play their games in the fall and the mid-majors join up with the FCS and everyone plays their games in the springtime, or is this something that just isn't feasible?
I don't think it's feasible, Ron. I think they like playing in the fall. That's when football's played. I think it caused a little bit of a nightmare for athletic departments to have basketball going, men and women, and football going at the same time. Now, I've not heard yet there was any consideration to do it all the time, but there are some pluses to it. I mean, you have the national spotlight, you've got the attention. I think more focused than there would be in the fall because of FBS football.
Yeah, and when you think about it, and the thing, I think you hit the nail on the head, the strain it would put on the athletic departments to play football at the same time you're also playing men's and women's basketball was wrapping up and baseball, softball starting up. The downside of that is it might take a lot of attention away from those programs that are used to getting the brunt of the media and the outward attention in the spring. If football is there, of course, football is going to get a lot of the attention because football brings in a lot of the money. So it might be one of those things where the baseball, softball, and the men's and women's basketball kind of get put on the back burner because football takes over the spring.
Yeah, I think you're right, Anthony. I think that'd be the biggest challenge. The how do you do that and change it so drastically? Because we're always used to playing football in the fall on any level. So to completely move it out, I don't think that's something yet. But I like it. I like being the center, the focus. I like not having to compete and figure out, are we going to have a bad crowd because Ohio State's playing, or do we have to compete against Notre Dame or Clemson? But I think back to the fall will be the way we go long term.
YSU football announcer Bob Hannon joining us on the MP Vivo Heating and Air Conditioning Hotline. Bob, you have a show tonight on terrestrial radio. What are we going to be talking about?
So I will be on tonight on 1390. We'll have Coach Phillips on from 6 until 7. Be joined by player Vinny Gentile, offensive lineman, or defensive lineman, Vinny Gentile from Cardinal Mooney, and offensive line coach Coach Peterson will join us as well. We'll recap Saturday's game, and we'll look ahead to the upcoming game Saturday against the Jackrabbits of South Dakota State.
Correct me if I'm wrong. South Dakota State plays in a domed stadium, do they not?
They don't. They're the only Dakota team who we play that's outside.
Interesting.
Right.
We could be bundling up then.
Ron, so I've looked at their forecast. Today it's mid-60s at South Dakota State. Tomorrow in the 70s.
Wow.
Friday and Saturday, upper 40s and partly sunny. So we are catching a break going to South Dakota State this weekend.
Yeah, because normally you're about waist deep in snow at this time, and the
right.
temperature is rather chilly, and their degrees of chilly is 0. It's pretty disgusting out there in the wintertime in the plains of South Dakota. So yeah, you guys are getting an enormous break this week.
Oh yeah, we're very lucky. We were fortunate. We went to Fargo. They were dealing with 20, 25 below with the wind the week before we arrived around Super Bowl Sunday. That week was really cool. We got there, it was 20s and 30s. So I can tell you, Ron, since we've been going there, we've never been hit with brutal weather. Now, we were worried in February because we heard that's when it gets to be the worst, but we are fortunate. And I think I might have told you this, Ron, they used to have really deplorable facilities. They've upgraded where they are considered to have the best facilities now in FCS football. It's a trip. It's an enjoyable trip, and it's a great place to call a game from.
Is this the first time that Leslie is going to be over in this place?
Yes, very first time for Steve Leslie.
Don't lose him.
I'll keep trying. He keeps finding his way back to the airport to come home.
Yeah, there you go. Okay, now I got to ask because that I'm a food connoisseur, and when I say that, I mean I got more chins than a Chinese phone book. What is the food venue of choice in South Dakota?
So there's a place called Minerva's that's a really good restaurant, and it mostly features steaks and pork chops and that variety. You go to North Dakota, South Dakota, it's hard to get a bad steak. So Minerva's, walking distance from the hotel, a couple good places afterwards to have a beverage, and then, Ron, I'm telling you, they've got the best breakfast diner on Saturday morning before we leave to go to the game. And what's nice about all this, you can walk there less than 5 minutes from our hotel. Sioux Falls, where we stay, is about an hour from the campus, so we do have a bus ride. But I would put Sioux Falls, as far as the conference teams, the number one venue to visit in terms of accommodations and being able to get downtown and have some fun the night before a game.
Who knew? Sioux Falls, yep. South Dakota is a party town. All right, who knew? Bob, always a pleasure, sir.
All right, talk to you guys next week. Thanks.
All right, see you. Bob Hannon, the voice of the YSU football Penguins, joining us on the MP Vivo Heating and Air Conditioning Hotline. Sioux Falls, South Dakota is Party Central. Go figure.
Who knew?
Who knew? Yeah, who knew? Speaking of Party Central, Richie Giuliano is going to be calling momentarily.
Yeah, we'll get him on, and he said let him know when Hannon's off, and I'll call. So
yeah. We're going to take a timeout, and then we'll get Richie up. Right. 3 out of 4 the Penguins took out of the Mastodons from Purdue Fort Wayne. Now, the games weren't played in Fort Wayne. They had to go into Ohio and play at Defiance, which I believe is like 35 minutes away from Purdue Fort Wayne. But Defiance has an all-turf infield and outfield, so they were able to play their weekend series from Defiance High School. Defiance is not a bad Division II baseball program. I'm just saying. That was the team, I want to say 5 years ago, that beat Poland to win a state championship. I think it was 5 years ago, 5 or 6 years ago. They beat Poland to win a state championship down in Columbus when they had the state finals. It was that day, Western Reserve and Poland were both in the state championship games. Western Reserve lost to Newark Catholic, and Poland lost to Defiance. But yeah, Defiance is a pretty solid D2 baseball school. They get some really, really good facilities for a high school.
We'll have Richie kind of give us the scope of it, because he spent the whole weekend in Defiance, so he can really give us the first-hand account of how great those facilities are.
A Defiant person staying the weekend in Defiance.
He's so defiant.
It goes like peanut butter and jelly. Richie Giuliano coming up next. We'll talk about the 3-1 YSU Penguins. First time in a long time that the Penguins have started out hot in the Horizon League, as they are 3-1 after the first rotation of baseball games. That's a great sign for the Penguins. All right, we'll take a timeout, be back. Stick around.
No matter what the weather, be prepared with a reliable, efficient Rude gas furnace or air conditioner from MP Vivo Heating and Air Conditioning. Call your energy efficient expert, MP Vivo, today for a free estimate.
Here at MP Vivo, we rely on Rude, and so should you.
Myers Family Insurance knows the importance of a great team.
Our team continues to grow to help you with your Medicare and retirement needs.
The annual election period is October 15th through December 7th. Now's the time to make sure your plan continues to meet your needs for the upcoming year.
Call today.
High-res Futurecast shows steady snow for the next few hours.
Still just downright cold.
It is bitter out there.
Several strong bands of lake effect snow.
Winds is kind of the big story today as well.
So if you need a more detailed winter forecast on WFMJ.com and the Storm Tracker 21 app.
I went to Greenwood Chevrolet because I was really interested in looking at the tracks.
Because I wanted my dream truck.
Because I've been going there for 20 years.
I'm really happy that I went
to Greenwood Chevrolet.
Because they really went
the extra mile for me.
Now we're going the extra mile for you, only at Greenwood Chevrolet.
Welcome back to a Monday edition of Running Points, presented by Greenwood Chevrolet on Mahoning Avenue in Austintown. If you're in the market for a brand new or slightly used automobile, before you put pen to paper and sign your life away, and what I mean by that is paying an unbelievably high monthly payment for 72 months or however the hell long you're going to be paying your monthly payment by taking a loan out for a car, before you do any of that stuff, head over to Greenwood Chevrolet on Mahoning Avenue in Austintown. Give Greg Greenwood and his staff an opportunity to win your business. Believe me when I tell you, you are not going to be sorry if you do that. Greenwood Chevrolet has a tremendous sales department, a tremendous service department, and a great finance department. Who doesn't want to have a low interest rate when it comes time to taking out a loan for your car? I mean, that's, Greenwood Chevrolet does a pretty nice job at that. So give them a shot to earn your business. You will not be sorry that you did. All right. So something that we're never sorry about is talking baseball with our next guest, and that would be the voice of the YSU men's baseball team on YSN, and that would be the one and only Richie Giuliano. Richie, how are you, sir?
Oh, I'm doing great. What's up, guys?
I got to ask. So you were supposed to go to Fort Wayne, Indiana, and the day before, everyone's like, "Yeah, we're not going to be able to play here." You know, kind of disgusting, deplorable conditions. But we found a place on the Ohio side in Defiance, high school facilities. And when I first heard, "Oh, they're going to go to Defiance," hey, this is not that big of a step down because Defiance has some good facilities. You spent a weekend in those facilities. Tell everyone your opinion of Defiance High School.
Yeah, it's not just a step down; it's a step up. I think Defiance is a beautiful high school facility, and the nice thing about the high school is it's all turf, so you could play if it's snowing or if it's raining. It doesn't matter because it just absorbs the weather. We got lucky; it was a nice weekend anyway. But they have 4 batting cages down the right field line, where you got the hit tracker. They have machines. They have everything. I mean, it's unbelievable. It's almost like a Division I college facility that they have there. I mean, the dugouts are spread out. They're nice. But one thing I did find different about Defiance High School, and this is kind of a common theme, the press box is right above the first base dugout, and I was talking to their SID in Purdue Fort Wayne. He was telling me that the coaches could hear everything I'm saying. So it was a kind of a funny thing because he's like, "Hey, tell the radio guy to keep it down and stop getting so excited when they get a base hit."
You gotta be a little bit more neutral when you're sitting right over the other team's dugout, huh, Rich?
Yeah, I know. I was starting to mess with them too. In Game 3, after I heard that, I was saying a couple of things and peeking through the window, and they were laughing. So it was a good time. But yeah, overall, the facility was absolutely beautiful. The only thing that kind of was different was it's a small ballpark, and you expect that for high school. It's 325 down the left and right field lines, and the deepest part of the park was 375. But in the end, Youngstown State was the only team that put one over the wall, so it didn't have that much of a factor in the game.
Richie, from your perspective, I mean, and you just said that you were parked behind the first base dugout and on another level. That's not really advantageous for a broadcaster to try to figure out the strike zone because you're cockeyed. You're not behind home plate, so it's kind of a difficult venue for you in terms of balls and strikes.
No, you're exactly right. Yeah, it took a game to get used to. I'm not going to lie. I was trying to paint the picture as well as I could, and you kind of just go off where the catcher's set up, right? So if our catcher's set up on the outside corner, that's what I'm going to call. And it's hard to tell if it's a ball or a strike. Usually we're right behind the plate, but yeah, it was a different venue and it was a different angle as well. Like you said, we were kind of cockeyed. The only problem I had is when a ball was popped up to right field because there was a big wall in front of me on the right side. So I kind of had to almost lean outside the window to see down the right field line. So that was the only real problem I had. Other than that, I think it went pretty well.
Now, Richie, I hope you never came close to leaning out the window and almost falling out of the press box because we don't have travel insurance on you, buddy. So
yeah, no, I was good. I mean, there's nobody there to hold me back either. I was on my own. So
I just had
a tough landing.
Honest to God, I just had a flashback into 1 or 2 ballparks in my ventures. That's kind of a crazy scenario that you had this weekend. But I mean, let's talk about this YSU team. 3 out of 4 over the weekend. Yeah, that's a solid way to open up the Horizon League.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it, and that was their first Horizon League opener that they won in 7 years. So a big accomplishment for head coach Dan Bertolini. Get that Horizon League series under their belt, get a win, 3-1, like you mentioned, and you got to credit the pitching staff. Just a fantastic work all the way around from top to bottom. Start with Colin Clark, who came out through a great outing. Colin Floyd threw a complete game shutout in Game 2, so career day for him. And then it was John Snyder who threw 6 innings, didn't give up a single run. And then the freshman came out in game number 4 after a bounce-back loss in Game 3. And Nick Perez came out and threw a great game as well. So I think the pitching staff was fantastic. I know you touched on the Indians' pitching staff earlier and how stacked they are. They kind of looked like the Indians' pitching staff this past weekend.
Ricky, I have to imagine, despite their record coming in, that YSU had to feel super confident coming into their first Horizon League series because of the way they played in Louisiana, the way they forced LSU to a walk-off win. they had to feel really confident in their abilities coming into this series, and I'm sure that showed watching them firsthand and seeing not just what they put on the field, but their body language and their energy, and how much that transferred into how they played.
Yeah, you're exactly right. I think, once they went toe-to-toe with one of the best teams in the country, that changed the complexion of the entire year for them, and I think you're going to see that moving forward as well, as they take on historically one of the best teams in the Horizon League in Wright State this weekend. But, yeah, going back to your point, they beat Nicholls State on Sunday, which was that getaway game, and that's the day after they lost on the walk-off home run to LSU. So I think the confidence right now is through the roof for Youngstown State. We saw it last year when they beat Houston in that series. They beat Abilene Christian. They went on the road and beat Pitt, a team out of the ACC. So there's a lot of confidence in that Youngstown State dugout after they've been able to knock off a lot of opponents in the last couple of years.
Richie, I'm looking at the standings right now, and, Wright State, they took all 4 from Northern Kentucky, but Wright State has a losing record, 4 wins, 5 losses on the campaign. Now, they loaded up their non-conference schedule. I think they played a weekend series against Vanderbilt, much like Youngstown State, loading up against some pretty quality competition as well. But, only 4 teams have played conference baseball to this point. Wright State 4-0, Northern Kentucky obviously 0-4. Youngstown State 3 out of 4 against Purdue Fort Wayne. They're 3-1. Purdue Fort Wayne 1-3. Oakland, UIC, and Milwaukee did not play any conference games this weekend. So immediately a battle for first place this weekend as Youngstown State goes to Wright State to take on the Wright State at 4-0, Penguins at 3-1. Game on.
Yeah, it's going to be a great series. And going back to your point, in the loaded competition that Wright State's played earlier in the year, they played number 2 Vanderbilt, and then they played number 23 Alabama. And they lost to Alabama in extra innings in Game 2 and then lost by 1 in Game 3. So Wright State's a team that is very competitive. They have an unbelievable pitching staff. So it's going to be a pitching duel the entire weekend. And I'm really excited to see if Youngstown State could spark the bats up and maybe crack open the Wright State Raiders staff.
Speaking of those bats, they did not slouch this weekend, even though the pitching pitched really well. The bats came as well. Talk about their approach at the plate, their game plans, and how well they executed this weekend from the offensive category.
Yeah, I think it was contributions all the way around. It wasn't top-heavy, it wasn't bottom-heavy, it was everybody. It was consistent, and everybody pitched in at the right time. I think especially in game number 2, it was situational hitting. It was 0-0 going into the 6th, and then Youngstown State gets a couple men on, they steal a base, and they hit them in. And that's all it took for Colin Floyd as he pitched that complete game shutout. It's, situational hitting's key for Youngstown State. They're not going to outslug you. They don't hit a lot of doubles or triples. They're a single hitting team, but they like to move base runners on the year. I think they've stolen close to 18 stolen bases. So this is a team that loves to play small ball. They love to put bunts down, and they play situational baseball. And that's exactly what they did this weekend, and it paid off.
Speaking with Dan Bertolini, he's a guy that loves to press the issue in terms of forcing the opponent's defense to get the job done. And you'll see a couple of innings get extended because of some errors on the field. Was that a situation where the Penguins were able to force the issue, get an extended inning or two, and take advantage of that?
Yeah, there was a couple examples. Actually, our catcher, Nick Caruso, who laid down 2 bunts in one game. And, looking back at that, a catcher never really bunts. And he comes out, takes the Mastodons by surprise, lays one down the third base line, and then the next at bat he does the same thing and actually got a hit out of it. So, he had a sacrifice and then a single out of a bunt, and then they kind of got tangled up, and Philip Glasser later in the game came up, put a bunt down. The third baseman had trouble fielding it. Next thing you know, the innings extended. We score some runs. So you talk about pressing the issue. That's what Dan Bertolini loves to do. He'll bunt anyone. It doesn't matter who you are, the catcher, the first baseman. You're going to bunt if you're in that lineup.
Let's talk a little bit more about Colin Floyd. You touched upon it, a career day for him, complete game shutout. What was working so well for him to just baffle the Mastodon offense?
I think the one thing that was working for him is getting ahead of hitters. I mean, it was almost night and day. Every first pitch was going to be a strike or they fouled it off. And I think that was the biggest thing for Colin Floyd is his ability to get ahead. And he was also really pressing the issue on the mound. He was working quickly. There was not much time in between pitches. He was rolling at his pace and, going top to bottom in the lineup, facing the same guys 3 or 4 times. And nobody was able to solve the puzzle from Colin Floyd as he was dropping in a slider in there occasionally. He had his changeup working, and, he also had the umpire's trust, too, where there was a couple calls on the outside corner that were going his way. And, it ended up, working out for him. And Coach Bertolini came out to the mound in about the 8th inning where Floyd was at 105 pitches, and Colin Floyd told him, hey, I'm going the distance here. Don't take me out because the bullpen was ready. It kind of just shows the character of Colin Floyd and his ability to close out games, which is really nice to see, especially in the early part of the year.
There's a Twitter site at D1 Baseball where they recognize a top 30 pitcher for the college baseball weekend. And not only was Colin Floyd recognized as a top 30 pitcher for the shutouts, as he went 3 hits allowed, 8 strikeouts in the shutout. John Snyder was also put in the top 30 as well, as Snyder struck out 12 batters and didn't allow a hit over 6 scoreless innings in Game 1 of their doubleheader on Sunday. Pretty interesting that 2 of the Penguin starters both got top 30 status for this weekend. That's, your pitching is pretty solid when 2 of your starters make the top 30 list.
Yeah, and you got to credit Shane Davis for that, the pitching coach for Youngstown State. He's had this starting rotation ready to go. And, you mentioned the 12 strikeouts for Snyder. He's another guy who threw over 100 pitches. And, it's kind of disappointing to see they spoiled his outing in Game 3 as they couldn't get a run the entire game. And that's the weird part. And I don't know, I'll get your guys' opinions on this. I don't like this. They only played 7 innings in that game, first game of the doubleheader. I don't know your guys' opinions on that, but I was not a fan of that. It kind of took, the bats out of the hands of Youngstown State, especially as they were starting to heat up later in the game. I wasn't a fan of the 7 innings.
Better get used to it because it's going to happen in Major League Baseball, too. They've made the doubleheaders 7 innings, and I know Ron is gagging in his chair right now at the sound of that.
It's garbage. I hate it. I absolutely hate it. Baseball's a 9-inning game. Don't give me this crap that you're trying to save arms. Cry me a friggin' river. It's a 9-inning game, so start preparing for 9 innings. God, I'm tired of people trying to screw this game around. It's that baseball's a 9-inning game. It's not a 7-inning game. I don't give a crap about, it's a doubleheader. Well, suck it up and play 18 innings. Good Lord.
No, I'm with you. I mean, I feel the same way. I was not a fan of the 7-inning ball game in game number 3, and it came back to cost Youngstown State as Purdue-Fort Wayne walked us off in the 7th inning, and you don't even get a chance to come back out and hit for what could be your 2 best innings in the 8th and 9th when Youngstown State, the entire series, was getting the majority of their runs in the 7th, 8th, and 9th innings. So it really hurt to see that. But I'm really happy the way that they bounced back. And, that was a pissed off dugout for Youngstown State after they lost Game 3. So they came out motivated, put up a crooked number in the second as they scored 5 immediately and kind of took the wind out of the sails of Purdue-Fort Wayne in Game 4.
Hey, Richie, I know we had a top 10 web gem moment in LSU, but I think that one might have taken a back seat to what Colin Clark did on Friday. Can you even describe the spinning behind the backstab of the comebacker to the mound on Friday?
Yeah, that was unbelievable. I'm not going to lie. That was one of the best plays I've seen in a while on a baseball diamond. And, I don't want to say it was luck, but I think it was partially luck because he wasn't even looking at the baseball. He just kind of spun around and threw his glove out there hoping that he would catch it, and he did. And, credit to him. And I don't know if you listened to the video or not, but the Youngstown State dugout was just going insane when he made that play. So it was definitely a fun call when he made that play. And, it was great to see him because he works so hard and he's so funny as well.
And back to the 7-inning doubleheader real quick. Gotta imagine it's not the last one YSU will play. Like it or not, it's a reality. And maybe lesson learned early in the season for YSU to have a little bit of a different approach when you know when you know it's going to be a 7-inning game, to treat that 7th inning like it's the 9th inning, and really have a little bit of a different approach in a 7-inning game, because we don't like it. We don't like the rule, but the reality is we can't change it either. So you got to kind of adapt to that.
About it, and it's going to be like that the rest of the season. I know Wright State this Saturday, they're going to play 7 innings on that noon start, and then they play at 3 o'clock after that. So, yeah, it's going to have to be a different approach. I think the biggest thing is score early and often, right? You know, you could save your bullpen in these type of games. I know Youngstown State had 10 guys available on the final day on Sunday. They had 10 guys that they could bring in out of the bullpen just because Colin Floyd won a complete game. Cullen Clark went about 6 1/3, and the bullpen kind of just went different pieces where they only threw about 2/3 of an inning each, so they were all ready to go too. So that's a game where you could save your bullpen, and if your starter could go 6, 7 innings and eventually go the complete game, that's what you want.
Okay, now I'm a little confused by something, because game 1 of the doubleheader was 7 innings, but game 2 was 9 innings. How the hell does that happen?
I would think you would want to flip that, right? Because you want the team that's traveling to go home earlier, right? So you think it would be 9 innings and then 7 innings just so they could leave earlier, but that's not the case. I was puzzled by it to begin with, and I was made aware that they were playing 7 innings about a day before the game happened. So I was kind of confused by that as well. Why wouldn't we play a full game Sunday morning and then play 7 on Sunday afternoon so we could get the heck out of there?
No, I'm with you. I mean, look, I'm not a fan of 7-inning games at all, but if you're going to have a doubleheader and one's 9 innings and one's 7 innings and it's on getaway day, then the second game should be 7 innings, get the hell out of Dodge, and get home at a decent time.
I think the only thing I can even think of that might be a shot in the dark of why is that last game is usually one that might be the one that clinched the series for a team or split the series for the other. So a little bit more importance in that game. Maybe they want to make it 9 innings because of that. That's the only thing I can really think of that would change that 9 games for the last game.
And I can kind of sort of understand where you're coming from, but then if that's the case, then make both games 9 innings and be done with this 7-inning BS. Don't even get me started. I saw this crap in minor league baseball when they were playing. Well, we're going to play 2 7-inning games. Why? Well, what is this? Well, we got to save everyone's arms. Oh, get the hell out of here with that crap. Baseball's a 9-inning game. It's not a 7-inning game. All right, Richie, 3-1. A lot of excitement with this baseball team. Again, right out of the get-go, you're taking on arguably the best team in the league this weekend. Probably the most important series that YSU has played in, I venture to say, at least 5 years. This is the most important series against Wright State in quite a while.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. I mean, this is huge. To try and gain first place in the Horizon League in the early part of the year, that'd be the first time Youngstown State did that in a long time. But overall, I think it's big because they're trying to keep their momentum rolling. They're playing some good baseball right now, especially after they beat Nichols, and then they come out in their first Horizon League series and beat Purdue-Fort Wayne 3-1, so where they should have taken 4, really. So they're playing really good baseball right now, and you hope they could at least take 2 and split the series, but you'd like to see them win it. I mean, it's going to be an exciting but tough challenge just because how good Wright State really is. I mean, you go on the road, they play Vanderbilt. They got smothered by Vanderbilt the first game, but then only lost 1-0 the second one. And, you credit their pitching staff and bullpen. And I think Youngstown State knows what they're getting into. They know that Wright State historically is the best team in the Horizon League, and also that this year they have some of the best arms, not just in the league, but in the country. So it's going to be a daunting task, but Youngstown State, if they bring the bats, I think they're going to have some good luck.
All right, Richie, you joined the wonderful cast of characters that we have on the show to travel with the teams, and we have to ask everybody this. Food situations on the road. What was the food situation like in Defiance, and what were some good eats on the road in Defiance for YSU baseball?
Well, everything's catered in, so you can't really. I could go out technically because I brought my own car, but since they got me food, I'd take the free food instead of going out and spending $30 on a meal. So I took the free food, but they got Applebee's the one night, and it was fantastic. They got steaks and mashed potatoes, and they also got a salad. So, I mean, that's not a local place. But Dayton, I'm going to try and get some chili. Because I know they're known for, like, Cincinnati area is known for, like, chili. That, like, Skyline place. So I'm going to try and get there one time.
There you go. Yeah, there you go. Montgomery Inn is also something that if you're a rib fan, Montgomery Inn is something that you definitely want to try as well.
Good. I love ribs. I'll try and hit that up as well. See, the problem with traveling now that there's 4 games in 3 days, you're at the ballpark the whole day. You know, so there's not much time really. Even when I get back to the hotel, I'm so tired that I'll sit in the hot tub for 30 minutes, take a shower, and I'm in bed. So it's just like, it's a long day.
You got to get that ballpark food in you while you're at the ballpark calling games. You know, a hot dog in between the broadcasts and get it in you.
Bag of peanuts.
Yeah, well, that's the problem. Since there's no fans, well, there wasn't any at Defiance, there's no concession stand.
Oh.
Yeah, there you go.
You got to bring your own grill. Bring your own Greg Foreman grill and grill your own hot dogs.
And another thing about
George
that,
Foreman, sorry.
It was 20 minutes after that game on Sunday in the doubleheader, and they started the game. So it went from, they played at noon on Sunday, and they ended close to 2 o'clock, okay? So the next scheduled game wasn't for an hour and 20 minutes. Well, the umpires were ready to get going because they don't want to sit there all day and wait for an hour. The team made a quick wrap or something, got back on the field. Next thing you know, the game's starting. And I was asked, this is a funny story, I was asking, like, press ID up in the box. I was asking our coaches, I'm like, hey, what's the next time? Because I wanted to text Dre Smith, who's the SID for Youngstown State, so he could tweet out a time so that all the fans back home, since there's no fans, know when the next game is. So I called Dre, and, you know, the umpires are getting out on the field. I'm like, okay, we'll be starting in about 15 minutes. That's the usual routine. I come out of the bathroom. They're on the field. Starting pitchers warming up. I told Dre, I'm going on air, tweet it out. I didn't do an intro. I didn't do anything. I get on air. I say the starting pitcher, who's batting for us, and next thing you know, he delivers the first pitch. It was the craziest thing ever.
Yes. Welcome to the world of baseball, my friend. And if you're in it long enough, you'll see stuff like that. It's, crazy. That's good stuff. That's some good stuff. Hey, best of luck this weekend to the Penguins. You'll have a fun series against Wright State, and all the games are going to be on ysnlive.com, which is the best part of all of this. Well done this weekend. Look forward to hearing more of your games, brother.
All right, thanks, guys. Have a good one.
All right, see you. Richie Giuliano, he is the voice of the YSU men's baseball program as they take 3 out of 4 from the Mastodons. I've got Wright State's schedule up. They were supposed to have played a 4-game series with Vanderbilt. First 2 games were postponed, inclement weather and field conditions. When they got their season started, Monday, February the 22nd, Vanderbilt clobbered them 14-1. And then on the back half of the doubleheader, Wright State held Vanderbilt to 1 run, but lost 1-0. The next weekend, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, February 26th, 27th, and 28th, actually was a doubleheader on the 27th, played a 3-game series with Alabama. Lost the every game of the series, 8-4, 8-7, 1-0. So 3 of their 5 losses against 2 of the SEC teams. 3 of their 5 losses by 1 run.
And Alabama's number 23 in the country, and I'm sure Vanderbilt has to be.
Vanderbilt's number 3 or number 2 in the country. So 3 of their 5 losses by 1 run. This is no joke. Wright State's a pretty solid mid-major team.
They came out in the Horizon League and they swept the first series, no problem. So
yeah, 11-5, 8-1, 11-5, 13-1 over the North, Norse of Northern Kentucky.
That's not a sweeping. That's just a
bludgeoning. Yeah, double digits in runs in 3 of the 4 games. They're pretty good. They're pretty good, but I don't think they're going to be going up against a pitching staff quite like Youngstown State's. This will be a fun series. Be a real fun series and a benchmark from where the Penguins need to be.
It's going to come down to the little things, and if you do the little things right, you might win these games, because close games come down to how you execute fundamental hitting, how you execute situational hitting, the pitching in the tight spots, defense when runners are on. Little things like that are going to win these type of games.
And this is not the only time they'll face Wright State. I think you get a return trip against Wright State. So clearly, this is something where Youngstown State definitely has an opportunity to really figure out where they are with Wright State, and then hopefully, and I'm looking at the schedule. Yeah, they get Wright State at Eastwood Field March 27th, 28th, and 26th, 27th, and 28th. 4-game series, single game on Friday, doubleheader on the 27th, and then a single game against Wright State on the 28th. So the Penguins, they get an opportunity this weekend to play Wright State, and then they'll turn around 2 weeks later and play Wright State again. So it'll be fun to see where the Penguins are benchmark-wise.
It was a really good weekend for YSU ball and bat programs. I mean, baseball went 3-1. Softball swept a 4-game series with Akron. And a couple YSN alums did a really good job for the YSU softball team. So 7-1 on the weekend for YSU athletics. That ain't bad.
No, that's pretty good. That's pretty solid indeed. We're going to take a final timeout. Be back to wrap this Monday edition of Running Point up in a bit. Stick around.
WRS Wealth Advisors is the area's premier wealth and retirement specialist. With our combined 70 years experience and comprehensive wealth strategy, we assist our clients attain their goals. Call 330-965-0370 to learn more about our individual and corporate financial planning services, or visit WRSWealthAdvisors.com. Good luck, athletes!
Hi everyone, this is DJ Yoakley with Your Sports Network. We appreciate your support of YSN and welcome you to the YSN family. Our broadcast streams are brought to you live at no cost to you by sponsors that are local to this community. Without the vision and generosity of our sponsors and partners, we would not be able to bring this game to you today. So please support the great businesses and leaders that are making this game possible. And if you're a business in need of great advertising and sponsorship opportunities, feel free to head over to our site for more information on the right fit for you. We are local, we are loyal, and we are live. We are YSN.
Ah, the details. Baird Brothers Fine Hardwoods is one fine ride. Perfect cornering, superb handling, sporty and stylish, power to spare, plus awesome mileage. Yeah, jaw-droppingly beautiful lines and well appointed with luxurious trim. Put more oomph in your life and start beholding the molding. Find your home's fine hardwood at BairdBrothers.com.
For heating, cooling, and indoor air quality, the Mahoning Valley trusts MP Vivo Heating and Air Conditioning, offering worry-free repair, service, and installation. Call MP Vivo today for a free estimate.
MP Vivo Heating and Air Conditioning. We're your energy-efficient experts.
Planning a project around your home or rental property? Trust the electrical service to the local experts with 62 years of serving the Mahoning Valley. Joe Dickey Electric is your local go-to source for responsive, reliable residential electrical work. From everyday maintenance and repairs to new installations, electrical upgrades, and safety inspections, no job is too big or too small. Call Joe Dickey Electric today, 800-549-3976, or visit DickeyElectric.com. That's DickeyElectric.com.
News doesn't stop after the sun goes down. Sometimes you just have to hustle to get it. At 21 News, no matter how far it is, no matter what it takes to get there, we're working to bring you the best stories and the freshest content at 11 p.m. with the context and clarity that makes it worth staying up for, no matter what time it is. 21 News at 11 with me, Aaron Simonek, and Derek Steyer.
21 News at 11, news that's worth your time.
Welcome back to a Monday edition of Running Point, presented by Greenwood Chevrolet on Mahoning Avenue in Austintown. Before we get out of here, today is International Women's Day, and it's a good segment because today as I was walking into the studios, I noticed that there was an envelope with my name on it. Obviously, someone had sent me a note, and I was wondering, who the hell sends me a note? I mean, is this
fan mail?
Is this fan mail? But instead, I got a thank you note, and I think this is really cool. I got a thank you note from the Lady Rebels basketball team. Mr. Potesta, thank you for commentating our games throughout the season. It was great having the support and making it possible for family who couldn't come to our games to still be able to view it. We appreciate you and YSN, and every member of the Crestview varsity girls basketball team put their first name down on this note. So given that it's International Women's Day, I think it was only appropriate that we would talk about how great the future women of this country in Crestview is. This is cool. This is something really, really cool.
It was really nice to have there were broadcasters on YSN that kind of stuck with teams, and you were one of them, and there were several others on both sides, women, girls and boys. And it's nice to have the familiarity of one person at the games every day, and that they get familiar with the teams. They know the strengths and weaknesses. They can call them a lot better. So when we get the opportunities to stick a broadcasting team with one team and have them there for most of the year, that's what makes it kind of special, and it brings a bond between not just the broadcaster and the team, but the team kind of gets familiar with the broadcaster as well. They go home and they buy the game afterwards and listen to the same guy talk up their program, and it's a wonderful thing.
Yeah, and it's just not many people would take the time to say thank you. And this is the same group that gave me a really nice, although it says Rebels football, and we probably need to get Rebels basketball hoodies. But this Rebels football hoodie, holy crap, is it nice? It's comfortable and it's heavy, so I don't necessarily have to put anything underneath it on cold days. I can get away with wearing that thing. So they gave me that, and now they give me a thank you note. I forget about what I said about kids being, this, that, and the other thing. The future now looks a little bright.
He's not too much of get off my lawn today. You've warmed the heart of the office Grinch.
Mr. Grinch has gotten
his heart has grown 3 sizes.
Yeah, his heart has grown 3 sizes.
You're a mean one.
You're a foul one, Mr. Grinch. No, not anymore. I'm kind of a happy camper. So many thanks, in all seriousness, many thanks to the Crestview Lady Rebels for dropping off a thank you note in the mail. That was pretty cool. And a great way to put in the fact that today is International Women's Day. And
the last segue to wish good luck to our McDonald girls that are in the state semifinals on Thursday at 2.
At 2. Tuesday and Thursday is when basketball is going to be pretty hopping. D2 and D3. No, D3 and D4, I beg your pardon. D3 and D4 boys regional tournaments will be on Tuesday, and D2 boys regionals will be on Thursday. D4 state semifinal girls basketball with McDonald on Thursday afternoon against Waterford. So a lot of good basketball this week, Tuesday and Thursday, and hopefully, fingers crossed, we'll let everyone know where they can hear the game and whatnot. So enjoyed the show. Thanks for bearing with us, and with the
nice pun.
Thank you very much. I can't say that I meant to do this. I guess it is what it is.
Power Hour is next.
Power Hour is next with DJ and the boys. We'll talk tomorrow, noon to 3, running